And we are live for week 11. Good Sunday morning to all of you. It's going to be a fun Sunday, guys. We got a fun slate of games ahead of us. 8 games kicking off in just a few hours. We got the Bears, 8-point underdogs against the Lions. The Cowboys are 10.5-point favorites in Carolina. The Dolphins, 13.5-point favorites. We got some huge favorites today. The Commanders are favored by 10 against the Giants. The Texans, 5.5-point favorites against the Arizona Cardinals. That seems like a pretty aggressive spread to me. The Jaguars are favored by 7 points against the Titans. And we got the Chargers against the Packers, the Steelers against the Browns. All of those games kicking off in just a few hours. Good morning, everybody. I'm battling through a cold a bit. I apologize. My voice is a little raspy. Early start. Good to see you as well. Yeah, we are getting the live stream started a bit early today. Hey, Sam, choose one running back, Achane, Swift, or Singletary. Yeah, so let me pull up the running back ranks, guys. But we're not benching Achane today. I don't know how you could possibly bench him with what we've seen him do so far this season. I get being a little scared about Devon Achane in his first game back. They are likely not going to give him this massive workload in his first game back, but he doesn't need a massive workload for it to make sense to start Achane. Seeing this comment earlier before I started the live, should I start Devon Achane and worry about him being limited? Yeah, start him. You can be a little bit worried about his touches being limited, but we can't forget what Devon Achane is, even if he's limited. Guys, look at his last 3 games: RB1, RB5, RB4. I have him ranked as RB5. Today, you absolutely need to be starting Devon Achane. The dude is a walking first down. He is averaging over 10 yards per carry this season. Obviously, that is not sustainable, but we've already seen games where he gets 8 carries and he goes over 100 total yards and 2 touchdowns. We also know he's a very elite receiving back. So in PPR leagues, I think Devon Achane absolutely needs to be started. I'm not benching him in a single spot really this week. I'm starting him over basically everybody. He's my RB5 this week. If you're watching live on TikTok, I'll bring up the RB tiers here on the TikTok live. But Achane he's in tier 1. He's right up there with Brees, ETN, Eckler, and CMC. That's how I view Achane. I think he's a little bit more boom bust than those guys. Maybe you could argue him. Maybe you could argue he should be in tier 2, but yeah, I got him in tier 1 today. I traded Kenneth Walker and McLaurin for Tony Pollard and Garrett Wilson. Yeah, it's a W. It's a definitely W. I talked about both those players as guys to trade for. And I do like trading away Terry McLaurin as well. He's got at least one difficult matchup in the playoffs. And in general, what's the floor every week for Terry McLaurin? It's pretty low because they are spreading the ball around a lot, the Washington Commanders. All right, let's get to some of these start sits. Definitely, I'm going to be telling people, a lot of people, good morning, Carb. Seeing you in the TikTok live. Good morning, everybody. We got like 3 hours till kickoff, and we're going to get to thousands of start sits today in this live stream. I know there's a lot of difficult start sits. I also understand, guys, I'm in 7 fantasy leagues myself. 5 of those are high stakes fantasy leagues. I understand down the stretch, we got to be making the right start sits. We have to give ourselves the best possible chance to make the fantasy football playoffs. And then when we get in the playoffs, we got to go 1 win at a time. All right, pick 2, Ridley, Wilson, and Johnston, PPR. Yeah, so Quentin Johnston, he's absolutely in play in some spots. This week, I don't know about this one. I assume you mean Garrett Wilson here. And Garrett Wilson is, I think, 3 or 4 tiers above these other guys. I'll bring up the wide receiver tier list here on the TikTok live. A lot of wide receivers to think through today for sure. I got Garrett Wilson in tier 2, though. Calvin Ridley, he's all the way down in tier 5. I got Quentin Johnston in tier 6. So I would play Calvin Ridley over Quentin Johnston. Jalen Guyton is out. Mike Williams, he's been out. Josh Palmer, he's been out. It's really Quentin Johnston after Keenan Allen. But we also know Austin Eckler will be very involved. Austin Eckler, by the way, I think a real argument. He should be the RB1 this week with a tough matchup for CMC. I think there's still a pretty good argument for Austin Eckler, number 1 running back rest of season just in general over CMC. Let me turn off subscriber-only comment mode. I will get to the subscriber comments, though, of course, on the TikTok live. Start Ayuk or Gibbs in the flex. Yeah, I like Ayuk and Gibbs a lot for sure. Let me pull up that comparison on the YouTube live really quickly for Ayuk and Gibbs. I think I have them both. I have Ayuk up there in tier 2. I'm pretty sure I have Gibbs in tier 2 for the running backs also. Definitely a close one. I think I probably would go Gibbs over Ayuk. Ayuk definitely has a really high ceiling. I am just a tiny bit concerned. I still put him in tier 2 because this is a good matchup for Ayuk. This is a good matchup for the 49ers passing attack. As we've gone through this week after week after week after week, the Buccaneers, there's several defenses in the league this year that are just such clear pass funnel defenses. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are one of the leading examples of that. Their run defense is elite, and their pass defense is very bad. So they have been like a slightly worse defensive version of the Eagles defense, where the Eagles defense, extremely elite run defense. This is why you cannot start Isaiah Pacheco this week. Absolutely not. Nobody should start Isaiah Pacheco this week. We went through this with Derrick Henry last week against the Bucs. The Eagles are an even stronger version of the Buccaneers defense, where their defensive line is even better. Their secondary is just as bad as the Bucs secondary. Brandon Ayuk, though, my concern with him is Deebo Samuel's first fully healthy game back last week. We saw Deebo Samuel get a 13% target share, 3 targets for Deebo Samuel. It does have me a little bit, sorry, for Brandon Ayuk. It does have me a little bit concerned about what is the floor for Brandon Ayuk. I think the ceiling's high enough, though, in this spot against the Bucs. I'm willing to start Ayuk in a lot of spots. But yeah, I'm going to start Gibbs over Ayuk for that one. Lockett in tier 4 is actually wild. Yeah, so Lockett is a true question mark in this game today, and that's why I have him down pretty low. I think if you removed the hamstring injury, I'd probably actually rank Lockett ahead of Metcalf. I'm generally the team Lockett over Metcalf just in general, but Tyler Lockett did not practice at all this week with a hamstring injury. It does sound like he's going to play through that, so I do think Lockett's going to play, but hamstring injuries, really, really high likelihood of re-aggravation. Pretty good chance he's just not at 100%. So yeah, I'm pretty out on Tyler Lockett today for that reason. I generally am in on Tyler Lockett, though, over DK Metcalf. Here's some of the high-level takeaways from my rankings. Deontay or Herbert at flex. Yeah, man, Deontay Johnson, really tough to trust. I don't know how we can trust really anyone on the Steelers offense. To me, the guy you can trust the most is Jaylen Warren. I don't think you can start Najee Harris today. Deontay Johnson's absolutely a liability today to be in your starting lineup as well. He only had 4 targets last week, as the Browns are a very elite defense. He had 1 catch for 17 yards. That's Deontay Johnson last week. The Browns, the second best defense against receivers this season. So yeah, I think I'd bench Deontay in that one. Trade Etienne, Kyler Olave for Devontae Kamara, T-Law. I don't know if I would do that. If you're giving up Etienne, I'm not sure I would do that one. Purdy or Herbert? Yeah, let me pull the QB ranks here. Let's go to the QB tiers because I think the QB tiers are really, really interesting this week for sure. Here's my top 20 QBs. So Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, they're in a tier of their own this week. I am definitely starting all of them with a lot of confidence. They all, on paper, have difficult matchups except for Mahomes. Mahomes is playing the pass funnel Eagles defense. Mahomes has to be QB1. If Mahomes is not QB1 in someone's rankings, I would not trust those rankings. The Eagles have been obliterated by the pass. They've been extremely elite against the run. I'm very excited for that game tomorrow night, rematch of the Super Bowl. The Eagles, the difference between this Eagles-Chiefs matchup than it was in the Super Bowl, by the way, I did take the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. We did cash basically every single prop in that Super Bowl as well. The difference in this game, though, is the Eagles' defensive line is even better than they were last year, which was the best defensive line in the league last year. I think they're even more talented, even better this year, even better against the run. But I'd argue they're probably even a little bit worse against the pass than they were in the Super Bowl. The Eagles' offense is even better than they were, at least as good. The Chiefs' offense has been playing a little bit worse, but the Chiefs' defense is much better than they were last Super Bowl. But all that to say, you look at the matchups for the Eagles so far this season, and you got to love Mahomes' spot this week. And there's potentially some weather we got to talk about in that game, but the Eagles are allowing the 4th most points per game to quarterbacks this season. Sam Howell dropped a 32-point bomb on the Eagles just a couple of weeks ago. Dak Prescott dropped a 30 bomb on them the week after that. We saw Kirk Cousins drop 30 points against them earlier this season. Mac Daddy Jones in week 1, he had 25 points against the Eagles secondary. Sam Howell had a separate 20-point game. Matt Stafford had one of his best games of the season against the Eagles, 17 points. They are a pass funnel defense that is ideal for fantasy. So yeah, the whole Chiefs passing attack, I think you should be pretty excited about. All right, Weatherman Sam, what are the radar showing you today? Yeah, so we got to talk about the weather a little bit today. High level is that nothing super concerning weather-wise today, but there are a couple games to be aware of. The first one is the Broncos at the Vikings. This is the game tonight between – sorry, I misspelled Vikings there. Let me fix that. Broncos at the Vikings. This is the game between Russell Wilson and Joshua Dobbs tonight. There's going to be rain in this game, and there's also going to be wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Now, over 25 miles per hour is where I really get scared, but this is going to be occasional wind gusts, not likely going to be throughout the game. I think this is going to be kind of similar to the Broncos-Bills game last Monday night. There was wind in that game, but the Bills were still able to throw a lot. It's going to be that, but a little bit of rain on top of that. So not the best passing environment just in general. Don't be shocked if the Broncos lean pretty heavily on the run again. And then we have the Eagles and Chiefs, and this is another game we got to watch out for. This is the game tomorrow night. So no games today at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock that we should be really nervous about. I think there is possibly some wind in the Jets-Bills game, but nothing to be concerned about. But the weather report is actually getting better and better for this Eagles-Chiefs game. So it's absolutely pouring in Kansas City, basically all the way up till the game time. But the wind is only in the 10 to 15 mile an hour range. Maybe we get some wind gusts up to the 20 to 25 mile an hour range. I still think the Chiefs are going to throw extremely heavily in this game, even if there's a little bit of rain. That's the weather report. Overall, I'm not majorly concerned about any of the weather this week. There will be some weather, some rain, some wind, but nothing to the point that I'm concerned or I'm changing my rankings just in general. So that's the Weatherman Sam report. Let me go back to the QB tiers because let me pull these up again on the YouTube live. But yeah, Brock Purdy absolutely needs to be started against the pass funnel Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Justin Herbert, meanwhile, has kind of a difficult matchup this week. The Chargers are facing off against the Packers, who have been pretty good against the pass. We'll see if Jair Alexander ends up playing this week. That is something to monitor. I still think Herbert is a fine start, but yeah, I would play Purdy, Fields, Dak, Stroud all over Justin Herbert this week. All right, so let's get to some of these comments again. Waddle or Wilson? Yeah, I think I have Garrett Wilson just a few spots ahead of Jalen Waddle. I'll pull up my wide receiver ranks here on the YouTube live. Kyler or Goff? Yeah, I do think I have Kyler a couple spots. I do ahead of Goff. I have Kyler at 8, Goff at 11. The matchup's not bad for Goff. The Bears haven't been the scariest secondary to play against. My fear, though, for Goff in the passing attack for the Lions today is, are they really going to need to throw that much? They're 8-point favorites at home against the Bears. There is a big over-under in this game. I think Goff is okay. But I expect a really, really run-heavy game script here from the Lions, assuming this spread comes to fruition, where we see David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs get 30 combined touches, a lot of rushing yards in this one. Doesn't mean Goff can't throw multiple touchdowns, but yeah, I would play Kyler Murray against the Texans instead. Kyler's got a better matchup. The Texans have been a really good matchup for QBs of late. Plus, with CJ Stroud really keeping these games close, even the Texans are 5.5-point favorites against the Cardinals today. This is a good spot. Texans allowing the eighth most points to quarterbacks. Back-to-back weeks, we've seen a quarterback go for at least 19 points against the Texans. One of those was Baker Mayfield, who threw for 265 and 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray also showed he's willing to run. Kyler Murray is willing to run, and that is huge, absolutely huge when it comes to fantasy scoring. We haven't seen a QB go under 15 points against the Texans since week 4, and that was Kenny Pickett. So, yeah, Kyler Murray's locked in for at least 15 points. I like him in DraftKings and FanDuel a lot this week at his price point there. I think my two favorite QBs to go with on DraftKings this week is Kyler Murray or Brock Purdy. Justin Fields or Brock Purdy. Yeah, so I do have Fields, I think, one spot ahead of Brock Purdy. I do think starting Justin Fields is fine. He's an 8-point underdog. We'll see how well he's able to throw coming off the thumb injury. But the rushing is why we're starting Justin Fields. He is pretty immediately the second best rushing QB for fantasy. We'll see if he can pass Josh Dobbs. But I do think he'll be ahead of Josh Dobbs at the end of the day when it comes to rushing. All right, I'm 4-6, and I need a must-win this week. Pick 2 out of the 4. Kupp, Adams, Dell, DJ Moore. It's got to be Cooper Kupp and DJ Moore. Guys, DJ Moore's a must-start. He's a must-start this week. Absolutely, you can't bench him. There's no way around this one. Let me pull up the DJ Moore game logs. You can just looking at the game logs, guys, you can see the games where Justin Fields plays, and you can see the games where Tyson Bagent played. And games where Justin Fields plays, guys, DJ Moore's been a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football. He had 5 touchdowns in Justin Fields' last 3 games. He went over 100 yards in 2 of those games. One of them, he went for 230 yards. Actually, if you guys remember that game, I think that was the Thursday night game where he went absolutely exploded. He actually should have had 4 touchdowns. He had a phantom out of bounds call in that game that was also a touchdown. He had 49 fantasy points in that one. I don't think we're going to see a 50-point ceiling from DJ Moore again, but this is a game where the Bears are 8-point underdogs. They're going to have to throw. I think a high floor, high ceiling for DJ Moore with Fields back. I'm absolutely starting DJ Moore, and I'm starting him over guys like Davante Adams, over guys like Tank Dell. And I do like Davante Adams this week. He's my number 11 receiver. I got DJ Moore ahead of him still, though. The only wide receivers I'm playing over DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, like the elite guys. I am fading Amari Cooper pretty hard with Dorian Thompson-Robinson starting. I do think the Browns are going to be extremely run-heavy against the Steelers. I don't know how many passing attempts we're going to see from the Browns this week. I don't think you can trust Amari Cooper a ton. He's definitely the best passing game option for the Browns. Yeah, but don't love it. Hey, Sam, when you do this trade, I get JT and Garrett Wilson, and I give Diggs and Walker PPR. I would do this trade, especially if you need a running back. I don't think the drop-off from Diggs to Garrett Wilson is as big as people think it is. Garrett Wilson leads the NFL in target share. The game logs for Garrett Wilson are some of the most impressive game logs of this entire season. When you really look at it, I don't think he has a game under a 25% target share. He doesn't. He has at least a 27% target share every single game this season. Guys, most players do not even average a 27% target share. That is the floor for Garrett Wilson this season. His rest of the season schedule is a little bit scary. I do think there is still an outside shot Aaron Rodgers returns. And these are all games where the Jets are going to have to pass. They're going to be losing in almost all of these games. So yeah, I'm okay with this. And JT is definitely a guy that I want to be trading for. Jonathan Taylor is going to win fantasy leagues this year. All right, let me pull up the tight end rankings, seeing some people ask about tight ends. Definitely interesting tight end spot this week. First of all, RIP Mark Andrews. 3 out of my 5 high-stakes fantasy leagues are looking pretty toast. Guys, I had Mark Andrews in a lot of different spots. The good news is I also picked up Trey McBride in a lot of leagues, and I hope you guys did too. Trey McBride is my number 2 tight end this week, guys. I have him over TJ Hawkinson. I have him over Sam Laporta. I have all those guys in the same tier. Tier 2, there's a clear tier 1. There's no Mark Andrews on the slate. There's no Mark Andrews just in general for the rest of the season, which puts Travis Kelce in his own tier. I think you could argue Hawkinson can get to that top tier. He has been in that top tier, but Justin Jefferson is going to be back next week or following the Vikings bye. And I think when that happens, Kelce will be in a tier of his own. So tier 1 for me this week, it's Travis Kelce. Tier 2, though, you got to get one of these tight ends in your lineup. All of them are good starts. Trey McBride, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid. I think there's a huge drop-off from tier 2 to tier 3 tight ends when you're going from Kincaid even to Kittle. And Kittle's ceiling is really high. Evan Ingram's floor is pretty solid, but I don't think they have the same floor-ceiling combos, these tier 2 guys in Trey McBride, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid. Let me pull up the Trey McBride game logs really quick. And also, this is a good matchup for Trey McBride. Also, Michael Wilson, kind of surprised, inactive for the Arizona Cardinals today. That's the rookie wide receiver, Michael Wilson. He actually commanded like a 15 to 20% target share in Kyler Murray's first game. That is going to open up targets for Trey McBride, for Rondale Moore, for Marquise Brown. I do like Marquise Brown a lot this week as well. I do think he is being slept on. But yeah, Trey McBride, 3 straight weeks, he's had at least 25% target share. In 2 of those games, he's hit almost a 30% target share or larger. He's got 85 yards on 8 catches. 131 yards on 8 catches last week in Kyler's first game. And this is an equally good spot against the Texans defense, which has not been very good against tight ends. And let me pull up the tight end numbers here for the Texans. Last week, the Houston Texans allowed 6 catches to Tanner Hudson of the Bengals. The week before that, Cade Otton had 6 catches, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the Houston Texans. That's the matchup for Trey McBride this week. So yeah, you got to be starting Trey McBride. Let me pull up the wide receiver tiers again. I know a lot of tough wide receiver decisions this week. I got my top 45 wide receiver rankings up on the YouTube live right now. Happy football Sunday to everybody. We'll talk about the running backs next. I will get to the running back rankings, seeing some Jahmyr Gibbs, some Devon Achane questions. We'll touch on both those guys for sure momentarily. Joey, good morning. We got a Marquise Brown or Tank Dell full PPR, also Lockett or Rice at flex. Yeah, I want to be in on Rashee Rice this week, but the usage has still just been a little bit scary. Let me pull up the Rashee Rice game logs here, and I want to target this Eagles secondary. This is going to be an extremely pass-heavy game for the Chiefs. Rashee Rice did set a season high 68% of the snaps before the bye week. He's been their best receiver pretty clearly, it feels like, for the last month to 2 months. Despite the high snap share, though, he only had 2 targets last game. He had 2 catches. I think he scored. Yeah, he did. He saved his day with a touchdown, an early touchdown, actually, in that game that did pretty much nothing else the rest of the game. I do think there's a ceiling here for Rashee Rice, but the floor, I got to admit, is pretty concerning. And then Lockett, I would easily say Lockett usually for this one, but he's dealing with a hamstring. Wow, they're actually back-to-back here, really close together in the Walter Picks app rankings. And yeah, I want to be in on Lockett just in general. I actually usually rank Lockett ahead of DK Metcalf, but Lockett's a game-time decision with a hamstring injury. It does sound like Tyler Lockett is going to play. He has a history of playing through stuff like this. So I would play Tyler Lockett over Rashee Rice. All that to say, I'm just kind of scared about the hamstring injury. You know, we've seen hamstring injuries like this. The guy's active, and then very quickly the game starts, and he ends up pretty much being inactive. You know, he plays a couple drives, tweaks the hamstring, and we don't see him again rest of game. That absolutely is in the cards here for Tyler Lockett this week. That's why I would prefer other options over him just in general. But yeah, I'm going Lockett over Rice. And then Marquise Brown versus Tank Dell. I think it's Tank Dell over Marquise Brown. I got Tank Dell and Marquise Brown actually in the same tier. I got my tier list over on the TikTok live. I got Tank Dell in tier 3. I got Marquise Brown at the end of tier 3. Tank Dell's at the beginning of tier 3. But you got to start Tank Dell for sure. He's been absolutely exploding. Nico Collins is back, but Noah Brown's out. It's like every week there's at least one of these Texans receivers that's out. Robert Woods is going to be back. Nico Collins is going to be back. But with Noah Brown out, it only further solidifies a near every down role for Tank Dell. Like we've seen, he played 97% of the snaps, season high, career high. In week 10, he saw a 36% target share. Back-to-back games with a 30% plus target share for Tank Dell. You love to see it. And I do think Nico Collins probably slides back in as the top receiver for CJ Stroud. But I think multiple receivers can definitely do well, especially in this matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. So yeah, start Tank Dell over Marquise Brown. I do like Marquise Brown, though, a decent amount this week. I do think he's being slept on. And Marquise Brown, guys, he's my absolutely favorite buy low wide receiver across all fantasy. Right now, I do think he's a really interesting and good buy low opportunity for him. Need one. Flex, Lockett, Warren, Ty Chandler. Yeah, so I'm pretty surprised, but Alexander Madison's going to play this week. It does seem like it's trending that way. That was reported early this morning. So you can't start Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler is absolutely out of the cards. You cannot start him with Alexander Madison active in this game. So it's really between Jaylen Warren and Tyler Lockett. And yeah, Jaylen Warren playing the Browns. No, thank you to that. If I have an option like Tyler Lockett, I would go with Lockett. Good morning, Sam. Do I start Dobbs or Tua? Yeah, so we're going to pull the running back rankings in a second. Let's just pop over to QB ranks, though, again, quickly here. I do have Dobbs 2 spots ahead of Tua. I am a little scared for Tua this week against the Raiders there. What was, I think, the 13.5-point spread in that game? Let me pull this up again. I do worry this is just going to be a really, really run-heavy game script for the Dolphins here. They're 14-point favorites at home against the Raiders. How much realistically are they going to make Tua throw in that game? The Raiders have also been worse against the run than they have against the pass. A little bit one of these run funnel defenses, which is not great for the fantasy quarterback situation. So yeah, I'm okay going Dobbs over Tua. The Broncos defense has been good of late, but Josh Dobbs, his rushing really does move the needle for me. So I'm going Dobbs over Tua. Let me pull up this comparison on the YouTube live quickly. I do think Dobbs over Tua makes sense. Yeah, Walter agrees. And look at the rushing guys. Josh Dobbs, he has the 3rd most rushing yards per game among quarterbacks, 37 rushing yards per game. He's got half a rushing touchdown per game. You're not getting this from Tua. Absolutely not. I think Tua's over under today. Rushing is like 5 yards. You got to start Dobbs, I think, over Tua. I think that does make a lot of sense. All right, let's go to the running back rankings. Let's get some of these running back questions in. Start Gibbs or Achane. Yeah, so let me go to the running back tiers here. I do have Achane ahead of Gibbs in my running back rankings. Let's do this comparison, though, because I think this one's pretty close. I do think Gibbs is safer than Achane. But man, I don't know how we started. I don't know how we bench Achane. You look at these numbers, 12% chance. Actually, the ceiling is higher for Achane. The floor is actually higher for the ceiling is higher for Gibbs. Floor is higher for Achane, according to the Walter Picks app. The matchup is better for Achane than it is for Gibbs. Both teams are huge favorites in their respective games. But guys, Devon Achane, he's averaging 25.4 PPR fantasy points per game, over 130 yards per game. He's averaging almost 2 touchdowns per game. I mean, these numbers are small sample size numbers, but he's RB1 in basically every single running back statistic on a per game basis. I think you go Achane over Gibbs. I do. I think it's a close call. I think if you're playing it safe, you do go Gibbs over Achane just because it's Achane's first game back. But personally, I'm not benching Achane in basically any situations this week. Pick 2, happy PR, Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, and Devontae Smith. Yeah, this one's definitely close. I'll go back to the wide receiver tiers here. We got Evans, Addison, and Devonta Smith. I have Devonta, then Addison, then Evans. I actually have Evans and Addison back to back. But yeah, I would go Devonta, then Addison, then Mike Evans. This week, there's no Justin Jefferson again. I do think Devonta Smith will do well this week. Xavier, I'll get to the auto lock prop in a second. Good morning, Sam. Hope you had a great week. What prop do you like today, as well as DK lineup? Yep. Let's see the prop. All right, I got you guys with the free player prop. I got 2 free player props for us today. We're getting back on track with the free player props. I'll pull this up on the TikTok live as well. We are going with Luke Musgrave. Over 2.5 receptions, over 28.5 receiving yards. Let me break this one down for you because this line is simply too low. The reception line I actually like even more than the receiving yards line. There's almost no chance Luke Musgrave doesn't hit this receptions line. Luke Musgrave has at least 2 catches in every single game of his career except for 1. They're setting this line at 2.5. They're playing against the Los Angeles Chargers, who are absolutely going to be beating them. The Packers are going to have to throw in this game. The secondary for the Chargers has been very bad this season. Last week, Sam Laporta, 4 catches, 40 yards. And Brock Wright even had 2 catches, 23 yards in that one and caught a touchdown. The week before that, Tyler Conklin had 6 catches, 66 yards. The week before that, Cole Kmet had 10 catches, 79 yards. Travis Kelce, the week before that, 12 catches, 179 yards. They're pricing this just too low. So yeah, we're going with Luke Musgrave over 2.5 receptions. Luke Musgrave over 28.5 receiving yards. I like both these lines a lot. He's beat this prop receiving yards wise in 4 of his last 5 games. The screenshot if you're watching live on TikTok is from the Walter Picks player prop evaluator. I go to the running back tier, seeing someone ask about that on the TikTok live. But here's the free player prop. We are 18-6, on the free player props this season. We did miss on Jamar Chase Thursday night. That was pretty unfortunate, obviously, with how that game went down. But we're getting back on track with Luke Musgrave today. I will go back to the start sits momentarily. All right, do I go Dobbs over Brock Purdy? Yeah, I really don't want to bench Brock Purdy this week. I think Brock Purdy is one of the safest players of the week. The only quarterbacks I'm playing over Brock Purdy, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's it. I'm playing Brock Purdy over Kyler Murray. I'm playing Brock Purdy over Justin Herbert. I'm playing him over Josh Dobbs. I'm playing over Jared Goff. I'm playing him over Tua. Playing him over Russell Wilson, Sam Howell, all the above. So you got to start Brock Purdy. He's my number 7 QB this week. He is a very, very good option. Jaden Reed or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, I probably would go Brandon Cooks over Jaden Reed. Nico Collins or Terry? I would go Nico over Terry. Stroud or Allen? Yeah, I'm going Josh Allen over Stroud. I would go James Conner over James Cook. James Conner is a pretty good option, guys, this week. I got James Conner in my top 20 running backs. I got it up on the TikTok live right here. I got James Conner ahead of Mostert, ahead of Singletary, ahead of Jerome Ford. I do like Jerome Ford as a sneaky play. We got a TikTok live subscriber comment here from James McNair in the flex. Latavius Murray or Chandler. We can't start Chandler. I don't think we can start Chandler with Alexander Mattison playing. So I think you kind of have to go Latavius Murray. Dobbs or Kyler? This is definitely one of the questions of the week. I saw this one actually before in the comments before the live even started. Someone else asked this. It's Kyler over Dobbs. It's close. I have Kyler 2 spots ahead of Dobbs. I actually think Walter is going to disagree with me. Walter has Dobbs 2 spots ahead of Kyler. The rushing is good for Dobbs, but honestly, the rushing from Kyler Murray in his first game back is the reason you kind of have to start Kyler over Dobbs. He had 6 carries, 33 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown in his first game back. This could be a shootout against the Texans, too, with CJ Stroud on the other side of this game. I'm okay starting Kyler over Dobbs. I think this game environment's probably going to be better. There's also some concerning weather potentially in that Vikings game, too. Hey, Sam, hope you're well. Hope you are well also, Xavier. Pick 3, Pollard, Garrett, Waddle, Devonta, McBride. Yeah, so you're not starting a tight end here. I'm benching Pollard, though. Go Garrett Wilson, Waddle, and Devonta. I bench McBride and Pollard here. And then different league. Achane, Ayuk, Garrett Wilson. He has Achane. Start Achane, guys. Start Devon Achane. You have a ceiling for Devon Achane where you just win in fantasy. He's just an auto win. That is the ceiling for Devon Achane. He could score 50 points in his first game back. That's the type of ceiling that you want in your starting lineups. That's why you need to start Devon Achane for sure. All right, thoughts on Barkley versus Singletary? That one is pretty close. I think I do have Barkley ahead of Singletary. I'm pretty scared about Barkley just in general. He's going down with the ship. The Giants, they cannot sustain drives. They cannot score points. Singletary did look really good last week. Let's do this comparison, actually. I still think I'd probably go Saquon over Singletary, but it's certainly close. I do think I have Fields one spot ahead of Kyler Murray. I feel even better about the rushing for Fields than I do Kyler. Let's do Singletary versus Saquon Barkley. Yeah, you got to go Saquon over Singletary. It was a very good game from Singletary last week against the Bengals. He had 30 carries. Devin Singletary, 150 yards, a touchdown. He also had one catch on 2 targets. Better matchup for him this week against the Cardinals. 5.5-point favorites against the Cardinals too. And now Saquon's in a whole different situation. They're huge underdogs against the Commanders. The Giants are 9-point underdogs in Washington today. Saquon's also just not getting very many targets. This one that I think is closer than Walter's making it seem. But yeah, I would go. I still think I'd go Saquon over Singletary. But yeah, definitely a close call there. Hey Sam, good morning. Good morning to you. Pick 3: Gibbs, Swift, Connor, and Javonte, full PPR. Gibbs, Swift, Connor, and Javonte, full PPR. So let me go to the running back tiers here to help with this one. You're starting Gibbs. You're starting Javonte. I have Swift one spot ahead of Connor. I have Javonte ahead of Swift and Connor, though. It's a close call between Swift and James Conner. The Chiefs defense has been good. This matchup between the Chiefs and Eagles is interesting because of how good the Chiefs defense has been. They've been much better than they were last year. I don't know if it's really going to matter, though, against the Eagles. They have not played an offense as good as the Eagles this season. And the PPR upside, if this is a PPR league, I think it does make sense to go Swift over Connor just because the receiving role for Swift is a little bit more elite than it is for James Conner. Not a ton of targets for Swift in his last 3 games, but we've seen a 10-target game from Swift, a 6-target game from Swift. It's not like James Conner can't get to those numbers either. It is a better matchup for Connor against the Texans than it is for Swift. But yeah, I think I'm going Swift over Connor just barely in PPR. I'll pull up the tight end tiers here, seeing some questions about that. Let me go to the tight end rankings. Every single Achane question, guys, I'm answering Achane. The answer is Achane. The answer to the test is always Achane. If you have Devon Achane, let me pull up this comment here. You got to start Achane over Pollard. You got to start Achane over Swift. You got to start Achane over Devontae Smith. Henry, you got to bench one of these guys. You're benching Tony Pollard. Bench Tony Pollard. It is not a good spot to be for Tony Pollard in games that are blowouts. The blowout games, Tony Pollard is not seeing a huge workload. Like on paper, this is a good matchup for Tony Pollard. It's a good matchup for him. But when you look a little bit deeper, the Cowboys get up early in this game, and it's going to be a rotation at running back. They're not going to give Tony Pollard 20, 25 touches in this game. So, yeah, I'm okay going against Tony Pollard in that one. Oh, yeah, so I do have a DraftKings lineup. So let me talk through DraftKings just in general for this week. I do think that at the quarterback position, you got to either go with Kyler Murray or Brock Purdy. At their price points, I think those are the 2 best options on DraftKings. I went with Brock Purdy stacked with Deebo Samuel in this lineup. If you're playing with Kyler, I do think stacking him with at least one of Rondale, Trey McBride, Marquise Brown makes a lot of sense. If you're playing Brock Purdy, you got to stack him with Deebo, Ayuk, or Kittle. Like 1 or 2 of those guys makes a lot of sense to me. The running backs that I think are way too underpriced on DraftKings this week, Brian Robinson, you got to start him against the New York Giants. There's no Antonio Gibson this week. That is a very big deal for Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson could see one of the best workloads of the week in one of the better matchups of the week. He's a 9-point favorite at home. And the main receiving back on the team, Antonio Gibson, who's been getting a 10 to 15% target share each of the last 3 games, he's out. Chris Rodriguez is going to slide in and get some work, but he's not a better receiving back than Brian Robinson or Antonio Gibson. So yeah, B-Rob is priced way too low. And then Jerome Ford, I think he's being slept on just in general across this slate this week and across fantasy this week. The Browns have no Deshaun Watson. They're starting a rookie quarterback, a rushing rookie quarterback against the Steelers. The Browns without Deshaun are still favored in this game. 2-point favorites at home. The over-under in this game is 33.5, which is absolutely disgusting. But it's going to be a very run-heavy game for the Cleveland Browns. Jerome Ford's been running a lot. Let me pull up the Jerome Ford numbers here. But his usage has been, I think, more elite than people realize. Back-to-back games, Jerome Ford's played 65% of the snaps. Back-to-back games, he's had at least 17 carries. Last week, 17 carries, 107 yards against a good Ravens defense. And he's getting targets as well. He had 7 targets back in week 9, only 1 last week, but he's running routes. About half of the dropbacks for the Browns, Jerome Ford's out there running a route. He's the preferred receiving back. He's the preferred back on the ground as well. A little bit lower of a ceiling just in general because Kareem Hunt will come in the red zone. But yeah, I do like Jerome Ford at his price. And then Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore. These are the receivers I'm rocking with. I do like Cooper Kupp a lot this week. I think the floor and ceiling are very elite for Kupp with Stafford playing again this week. I also like DJ Moore with Justin Fields back. I think McBride is the tight end unlock. Again, I would not play a lineup without Trey McBride this week at his price. It did go up a decent amount from last week, but still, I don't think high enough. If you're going to pay down at tight end, though, I think the answer is Luke Musgrave. That's why, for a lot of the reasons, I like his player prop as well. And then Rachaad White, I don't think many people are going to be playing him against the 49ers. But I do like Rachaad White against the 49ers because I do think he can get a lot of receiving work there. And I do like the Jets defense against the Bills, who just fired their offensive coordinator. Sam, great morning. Great morning to you as well. Zach, I was thinking Kamara for Jacobs PPR or Kamara for B-Rob and Ayuk. Can't afford the buy. Right now, Madison's RB2 thoughts. Yeah, I'd probably do the second one here, B-Rob and Ayuk, rather than Jacobs. But yeah, if you can't afford the buy, you can't afford the buy. I think you got to trade him. You got to make sure you make the playoffs. Yeah, if you're 4-6, I think it makes a lot of sense. Zach, you got to be aggressive, even if it feels like you're losing a little bit of upside down the stretch. Hey, Sam, good morning. Pick one, Mostert, Barkley, or Monty. Already playing Gibbs and Javonte. I love the Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery stack. In head-to-head lineups or head-to-head competitions like you are in a season-long fantasy league, what a high floor you're getting with playing Monty and Gibbs. I'm doing this in a bunch of spots across my fantasy leagues. I'm okay going Monty over Mostert and Saquon Barkley. All right, we got a question from Carb here in the TikTok Live. Henry or Singletary? Kyler or Herb? I would go Singletary over Henry. I'm playing Kyler over Herb. I'm playing McBride over Hawkinson. Start 3 more. Puka, DK, Evans, Tank, Nico. Thanks. Yeah, you're definitely playing. I think it's these first 3. I think you're benching Evans, Tank, and Nico. I think I have DK ahead of those guys. I do. Just barely. I got DK at 13 and Tank at 15. McBride or Laporte. So let me pull the tight end tiers again here on the TikTok Live. Let me pull the tight end rankings again on the YouTube Live. Trey McBride's been number 2 tight end, guys. He's absolutely balling out. He's had an over 25% target share in 3 straight games. He gets another good matchup against the Texans, a potential shootout matchup against the Texans, and we have Michael Wilson out, which is just condensing the target share. What's wrong with Ridley? Yeah, the problem with Calvin Ridley is he has not been able to beat man coverage this season. He's done much better against zone than man. I do think this is a matchup where he will see more zone than man, but yeah, just in general, Calvin Ridley has not looked like himself. I don't even think it's just Calvin Ridley too. The whole Jaguars offense has struggled. I haven't seen a single Trevor Lawrence question today. That's Trevor Lawrence doesn't have a game over 20 points this season. He somehow has regressed from last season despite the addition of Calvin Ridley. Josh Jacobs or Devon Achane. Yeah, so we're starting Devon Achane in basically 100% of situations. You need to start Achane. He's in my tier 1 of running backs. Guys, he leads all running backs in fantasy points per game. He leads all running backs in rushing yards per game. He leads all running backs in yards per carry. He leads all running backs in rushing touchdowns per game. This is a small sample size, but you got to start Achane in almost all situations. Start Achane. Already playing. Yeah, so I would go Monty stacked here with Gibbs in the YouTube Live question. Would you start Addison or Rachaad White? I think I would go Addison over Rashad White. I think that does make sense. I'll go to the running back rankings here. I got you, Cam. Darrell Henderson or A.J. Dillon. A flex ranking would be a good idea for the live stream. Yeah, flex ranking could be useful, Jason. That does make a lot of sense. I definitely would go Darrell Henderson, though, over A.J. Dillon for sure. I don't think A.J. Dillon can be started this week. Good morning, Sam. Play Sam Howell or Josh Allen? Yeah, it's Josh Allen for sure. And play D-Hop, Deontay Johnson, Rashee Rice. And yeah, it's D-Hop over Deontay Johnson. It's D-Hop over Rashee Rice as well. I'm seeing A.J. Brown or TK Metcalf. You can't bench A.J. Brown. There's no benching A.J. Brown. We established that rule, I think, back in week 1 or 2. There's absolutely no benching A.J. Brown, no matter the matchup, no matter the week. Him and Tyreek Hill, guys, they're both on pace to break some pretty ridiculous records this season. I would do this, Alan. If you have enough good running backs, I think this is fine. I'll pull the wide receiver rankings here. Kenneth Walker's in tier 5 under Kenneth. Pick 2, I've got Nico, Kirk, Mike Evans, and Ty Chandler, full PPR. Yes, you definitely can't play Ty Chandler. Alexander Madison is playing today. I think I'd go Nico Collins and Mike Evans over Christian Kirk. Happy Sunday, Sam. I have Amari Cooper, Nico Collins, Jalen Moore, full PPR. I need to start 2 of them. We're going to activate standing mode. Get some energy here. I got a new desk. I can stand and sit now. Going to get a second wind here. I would go Nico over Amari Cooper for sure. And then Jalen Warren versus Amari Cooper I think is pretty close. It's definitely scary. It's a scary situation to be starting Amari Cooper with a rookie quarterback. The over-under in this Browns Steelers game is 33.5. Guys, this is an extremely low over-under, the lowest over-under of the week. So, yeah, I think I would probably side with Jalen Warren in a game like that over Amari Cooper, but it's close. All right, and then no Deshaun makes me nervous. Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely very scared about Amari Cooper. I think Jalen Warren's probably safer, similar ceiling there too. Thielen, Devonta, or Swift, full PPR. You're not starting Thielen here. I definitely think Thielen is well below these other guys. And then Devontae or Swift. This one's pretty close. I think I lean Devontae over Swift in this spot against the Chiefs. But let's compare them quick here in the app and see what Walter says about this one. Yeah, Walter agrees. It's close. Wow, they're projected both 13.8 points. Very similar graphs here. But yeah, I would go Devontae Smith. I do think Devontae Smith has a bigger role with Dallas Goedert out. Should I trade Chase for JJ? Yes, you should do this with Joe Burrow out for the season. Hey, Sam, should I start Singletary, Henry, and Connor? Or should I switch one of them or 2 of them for Achane and Chandler? So you're not starting Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler cannot be started. Alexander Madison is active this week. Don't start Ty Chandler. You do need to start Devon Achane, though. 100%. You got to start Devon Achane basically 100% of the time. He's my number 5 running back. He leads the league in all efficiency numbers. He's insane. He would get 8 carries today and still finishes top 5 running back. That's the type of player Devon Achane is. He needs to be in your starting lineup. The Dolphins are also huge favorites in this game, 14-point favorites against the Raiders. I think it's going to be a very run-heavy game script here for the Dolphins. More reason to play Achane. I'm playing Achane over Derrick Henry, over James Conner, and over Devin Singletary. Let me pull the running back tiers here again. I think that I would play Conner, then Singletary, then Derrick Henry. So it's Achane, Conner, and Singletary. You're benching Henry. You're putting in Achane. You're not playing Ty Chandler. And Derrick Henry, I was correct last week about benching Derrick Henry. I don't feel as strongly about benching Derrick Henry this week against the Jaguars. But the Jaguars' run defense has been better than their pass defense. Christian McCaffrey did drop 20 points on them last week. This is a spot Derrick Henry can have a good game. The Jaguars, they are 5.5-point favorites. And the problem with Derrick Henry is when the Titans fall behind, you're not going to want to have started Derrick Henry. He's a game script dependent, touchdown dependent running back. He doesn't get a ton of work in the passing game compared to Tyjae Spears. Tyjae Spears is the preferred pass back. So Derrick Henry does have kind of a low floor as an underdog against the Jaguars. I have Adams, Moore, Kirk. Would you bench one of them for Rice, half PPR setting? No, I wouldn't bench any of these guys for Rashee Rice. I think you could talk about benching Amari Cooper for Rashee Rice potentially. He's not one of the guys listed here though, so I'm cool with benching Rashee Rice there. All right, Chris Stark, good to see you, man. Sam, I've got CMC, Jacobs, Brees Hall, and Mostert. Should I trade Mostert for Trey McBride? Yeah, if you need a tight end, absolutely, man. With those running backs you have, Trey McBride is a very good tight end to be trading for. Let me pull up my tight end ranks for this week. It's not close, man. McBride's my number 2 tight end. He's the leads off tier 2. I'm starting Trey McBride in all my DraftKings contests this week again. I think Trey McBride's floor and ceiling is pretty elite. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I got you. Shout out to everybody in the live, by the way, guys. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. If you haven't yet, check out the Walter Picks app. It is the best app you can use for fantasy and betting. It is free. It is the best way you can support me as a content creator. Definitely check it out. Use code SAM too. When you sign up, you'll get a free 7-day trial to all the premium features in the app. It's great. Thanks, man. Should I start Dobbs or Josh Allen this week? Yeah, so let me pull up the QB tiers again. The Elite 3 guys, there's no benching them. There's no benching the Elite 3. Let me pull up the QB ranks on the YouTube Live as well. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, they all have to be started. Tough matchups for Josh Allen. Tough matchup for Jalen Hurts. Something's got to give in these matchups for sure. The New York Jets have been one of the best defenses against quarterbacks this season. They're giving up the 6th fewest points to QBs. We have not seen a quarterback go over 10 fantasy points since week 6 against the Jets, but it was Jalen Hurts. And guys, you look at the quarterbacks the Jets have played. They played Aiden O'Connell. They played Justin Herbert, who they did well against. And they played Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito. These are the last quarterbacks they played against. So they stopped Justin Herbert pretty successfully. But Jalen Hurts still had 23 points against them. Russell Wilson still had 18 points against them. Mahomes had 15 points. Dak Prescott had 19 points. And Josh Allen, when he played them earlier in the season, only 12 points. That was back in week 1, though. So, yeah, I still think Josh Allen's a pretty good option. I am interested to see how that offense functions without their offensive coordinator. I did think that was a mistake to fire their offensive coordinator. I do not think offensive coordinators should be to blame for really bad turnover games. I get how people get to that thought that, it's on the offensive coordinator for not executing properly and for turning the ball over. I'm just of the mindset that turnovers are extremely, extremely random, extremely high variance. And the offensive coordinator's job is to call the right plays and to put the right players in the right positions, not to not turn the ball over. How is the offensive coordinator supposed to influence that? Like, seriously, it just doesn't make sense. I don't necessarily disagree overall with moving on from their offensive coordinator. I do wonder how that's going to impact the game. Then Jalen Hurts against the Chiefs. Guys, not a single quarterback has gone over 20 points against the Chiefs yet. It's probably going to happen, though, this week with Jalen Hurts. They have not played a Jalen Hurts level QB. The best QB they've played against, Justin Herbert. They played against Tua. They played against Justin Fields. They played against Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence. None of these guys went over 20 points. Kirk Cousins, he came close. He had 19.9 points against the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense has been very, very good. I do wonder how much that's really going to matter, though, against the Eagles. Ford or DK? Yeah, I like Ford a lot. I would go DK Metcalf, though, over Jerome Ford, especially if that's a PPR league. I'm playing Kyler over Tua this week. I'm playing Rondale Moore over Calvin Ridley, Rondale Moore over Rico Dowdle. I think Rondale Moore is a great option this week, especially with Michael Wilson out this week. I think that raises the floor and ceiling for him. Hollywood Brown, Nico, or Rashee Rice is my wide receiver 2. Yeah, I would go Nico, then Hollywood Brown, then Rashee Rice. Let me pull the wide receiver tiers here again on the TikTok Live. I'll pull my wide receiver rankings again on the YouTube Live as well. Looking at these game logs, though, for Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore has been one of the main weapons for the Cardinals offense this season. He played 64% of snaps last week. He ran about on 74% of the dropbacks, but pretty elite target share here. 26% target share, 8 targets. Definitely a connection there with Kyler Murray. And we've seen this connection in the past with a healthy Rondale Moore. He had 5 catches and 43 yards last week. I do get excited about this game potentially being a shootout. No Michael Wilson. I still think Marquise Brown likely out-targets Rondale Moore in this one, but don't be surprised if Trey McBride out-targets him too. But yeah, there's an interesting floor and ceiling case for Rondale this week after that last game with Kyler Murray. And the other exciting thing about Rondale is not all of his targets this season have been at the line of scrimmage. He actually is running deeper routes this year. Hey, Sam, Jameson Williams or Jalen Warren? Walter says Williams is higher. Boom. Yeah, you got to go Jalen Warren. You got to go Jalen Warren over Jameson Williams. And part of the reason the higher boom there does make sense. This Steelers-Browns game, the over-under is 33.5. Actually just moved to 34. It's the lowest over-under game of the week. So there's just not going to be very many touchdowns scored likely in this game between the Steelers and the Browns. The Steelers are not going to be able to move the ball against the Browns defense. The Browns offense might not be able to move the ball with a rookie quarterback against the Steelers defense. So we might not see very many touchdowns. I still think Jalen Warren, though, makes more sense here than Jameson Williams, who his floor is 0 points. The floor for Jameson Williams is 0 points. I don't love that. The floor for Jalen Warren is definitely above 0. So I think I would go Jalen Warren. I don't think either guy has a true elite ceiling. Good morning, Sam. Start 2 full PPR. Calvin Ridley, Javonte Williams, Breece Hall. And can you pick a QB to start, T-Law or Kyler? You got to go Kyler over T-Law. T-Law cannot be started. He has 0 games over 20 points. There's no ceiling for Trevor Lawrence. You got to bench him for sure for Kyler Murray. And then Calvin Ridley, Javonte, Breece Hall. Yeah, you bench Calvin Ridley here 100%. You're playing Javonte. You're playing Breece Hall. Both these guys are really elite in my running back tiers. I'll pull these up on the TikTok live again. But I had Breece in tier 1, up there with Eckler, ETN, CMC, HM. And I have Javonte in tier 3, leading off tier 3. I had him ahead of guys like Aaron Jones, Rashad White, Saquon Barkley. Just the usage for Javonte has been very elite for sure. Sunday Samster, how we doing, man? Good to see you, Adrian. Start 2, Rashad White, Henry, James Cook. Yeah, so you definitely got to start Rashad White here. Then Henry and James Cook. I think I do have Derrick Henry over James Cook. Yeah, so it's Derrick Henry, it's Rashad White here over James Cook. Carlos, I got you. Hunt or D-Hop at flex. Yeah, you cannot start Kareem Hunt this week, guys. There's absolutely no starting Kareem Hunt. And if you're starting Kareem Hunt, you are praying, absolutely praying for a touchdown. Because if he does not score a touchdown and in a game with the lowest over under of the week, I'm not so confident he's going to be able to score a touchdown. The floor is astronomically low here for Kareem Hunt. He could easily go under 3 PPR points. That would not be that shocking. He's had back-to-back games now under 10 points. Jerome Ford is getting the bulk of the running work. Steelers' run defense has been fine. There's basically no chance Kareem Hunt goes over 25 points. Meanwhile, you look at DeAndre Hopkins on the other side of this, and at least he has a high ceiling. The floor is kind of low and kind of scary for Hopkins too, but the target volume is going to be there. The gap, we talked about the gap last week between the best receiver on a team and the second best receiver on the team. I'm not sure there was a bigger gap between those two players than there is for the Tennessee Titans. You go from DeAndre Hopkins to Chris Moore. You go from DeAndre Hopkins to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Absolutely ridiculous gap there for the Titans, and that's why we're seeing DeAndre Hopkins just getting peppered with targets every single game, over 20% target share every single game of the season for DeAndre Hopkins. So yeah, you got to go Hopkins for sure here. Definitely think Hopkins has at least some interesting ceiling this week. Hey, Sam, thoughts on T. Higgins and Jamar rest of season? Yeah, man, it's hard to get very excited with Jake Browning. In for Joe Burrow, Thursday night was brutal, man. And I feel like the Joe Burrow injury is also just masking the Mark Andrews injury, which is a huge, huge, huge injury for the Ravens and for fantasy football. The second best tight end, pretty clearly in fantasy, is Mark Andrews, and yeah, out for the season there too. But yeah, I'm definitely down on the whole Bengals offense with Joe Burrow out, like pretty dramatically. I don't think they're going to be able to sustain drives as well or score as much points. Do you like Dotson this week? I personally don't have him on my team, but my opponent does, and he's starting him over people like Devontae and McLaurin. Yeah, I would not start Dotson over Devontae Smith. Absolutely not. I think there's a case for Devontae over Terry McLaurin. I don't think that's what I have. I have Terry McLaurin, I think, in tier 4 here, and I have Dotson down in tier 5. So I got McLaurin 1 tier ahead of Dotson. Any given week, it could be either of these guys. It's not a horrible matchup for them against the Giants. The Commanders have been really pass heavy, but they're playing the Giants, and they're huge favorites. They're 9-point favorites against the Giants, which to me is a sign and a reason to expect a little bit more run heavy of a game script for the Commanders if they absolutely blow out the Giants. Good morning, Sam. A lot of these Commanders games, they've been throwing a lot, but they've also been losing a lot of these games, and I just don't see that being the case against Tommy DeVito and the Giants. I pick one: Debo, Puka, or Devontae Smith. Already have Kupp and CD. Yeah, Kupp and CD is definitely in a pretty elite start to your wide receiver position. Debo, Puka, and Devontae Smith. I think the answer here is Puka. Yeah, I have Puka in tier 2. I got Debo in tier 3 and Devontae in tier 3. It's Puka. Start Puka and Kupp. I actually think the stacking of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua is a high floor, high ceiling play. Start 2, Mostert, Singletary, McBride, PPR. Mostert versus McBride. You got to start Singletary over Mostert for sure, in my opinion. Let's do McBride versus Mostert. I always lean towards not starting 2 tight ends. I don't like starting 2 tight ends. McBride is my number 2 tight end this week, though, so I don't know who you're starting over him in tight end. Hopefully it's Kelsey. Let's do this. McBride versus Mostert. Wow, God, McBride maybe does need to be started over Raheem Mostert. I am a little bit nervous for Mostert in this game. A little bit higher of a floor for McBride, a higher ceiling, though, for Mostert. I do expect a run-heavy game for the Dolphins, so I like that about Mostert. But HN returning, Mostert's not going to see over half the work in this game. He's going to be right around his 12 to 13 carries. I mean, man, he still leads the league in touchdowns, I believe. I feel like Gus Edwards is getting kind of close, though, behind him. I personally would go Mostert over McBride, but the floor arguably is better for McBride, especially in PPR leagues. But I'm playing Singletary over both of them. Pick 3, Brown, Adams, Nakua, Dell. Yeah, it's the first 3. Bench Tank Dell. In that one. I do like Tank Dell, but not over A.J. Brown, not over Puka Nakua, not over Devontae Adams, I don't think. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings, actually. I might have him over Devontae Adams. I don't. Yeah, it's Adams over Tank Dell. Start Devontae Smith or Puka Nakua. It's Puka Nakua over Devontae Smith. You're playing Josh Allen over Sam Howell. You're playing Jerome Ford over Kenneth Walker. I think you're playing Jerome Ford over Chris Godwin and Sutton also. That one's pretty close. Sutton does have a good matchup against the Vikings. There is a little bit of scary weather in that game, but I do like Jerome Ford's floor and ceiling today against the Steelers. You rock, Sam. Thanks, man. Shout out to everybody in this live, by the way. Absolutely always look forward to the Sunday morning lives. We got a fun slate ahead of us. Hope you guys are all excited for the game today. Make sure you guys are hitting the like and subscribe button. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok as well. I do appreciate it. Terry McLaurin, Raheem Mostert, Adam Thielen, Kenneth Walker, Courtland Sutton, pick 2 full PPR. I think it's Mostert for sure in this one. I would probably bench Thielen here. I think I have Thielen and Sutton in the same tier. Same thing with McLaurin. And let's pop over to the running back ranks here for a sec. Kenneth's in tier 5. Yeah, it's close between Sutton, Thielen, and McLaurin. I actually do have Thielen ahead of Sutton and McLaurin, though. So I think the answer here is Mostert and Thielen. Tough matchup for Thielen against the Cowboys. I do think I'm fine starting him over Sutton and McLaurin. Both guys have better matchups than him, but have been a little bit worse just in general. Sup, Sam? Would you start McBride over Laporta? Would start both, but can't bring myself to not put HN on my bench for a tight end. Yeah, Tyler, you can't put HN on your bench for one of these tight ends. And yeah, I have these guys super, super close in my rankings this week, and I am going McBride over Sam Laporta. I do like the potential for the Cardinals-Texans game to be a shootout more than I like the potential for the Lions-Bears game to be a shootout. The Texans are favored by 5.5 points against the Cardinals. The Lions are favored by 9 points against the Bears. So definitely a better chance for that Lions game to be really, really run-heavy for the Lions than it is for the Cardinals to be really, really run-heavy against the Texans. So yeah, I'm going McBride over Laporta for those reasons. I have them in the same tier 2. I think they're really close. I have Hawk actually in between them. I got McBride at number 2, then Hawk at number 3, then Laporta at number 4. But yeah, I'm going McBride over Laporta, and I would definitely play Achane over Laporta as well. All right, Deontay Johnson or Chris Godwin? You got to go with Chris Godwin over Deontay Johnson. Do not start Deontay Johnson this week, guys. He's playing the Browns. They're the number 2 best defense against receivers this season. This game has a 34-point over-under, the lowest of the week. So yeah, you got to go Chris Godwin. I'm going Kyler Murray over Sam Howell, I think pretty easily. I do think Sam Howell's interesting because of how pass-heavy the Commanders have been. I do have him as a top 15 quarterback this week. But yeah, Kyler's a better option. Kyler's going to run more than Sam Howell. Kyler's better, just talent-wise, than Sam Howell. And I think the game is just more likely to be a shootout. There's more likely to be a back-and-forth shootout between the Cardinals and the Texans than between the Commanders and the Giants. The Giants game is not going to be close. The Giants cannot score points, guys. Do not expect more than 2 touchdowns from the Giants, basically in any game for the rest of the season with their current offensive situation. They are not going to be able to sustain drives. They're not going to be able to score points. And that, to me, is a pretty good reason to expect a more run-heavy game from the Commanders and a pretty good reason to start Kyler over Sam Howell. Fields or Dak? I'll pull the QB rankings. I do have Dak 1 spot ahead of Fields. Dak has been on fire. Let's pull up these game logs for Dak. I mean, it's been absolutely insane what Dak Prescott is doing. He's ranking as QB7 this week in the Walter Picks app. Dak Prescott has been a top 3 fantasy football quarterback for 4 consecutive weeks. QB1 in week 6, then a bye, then QB3 in week 8, then QB2 in week 9, then QB1 last week against the Giants. He has not gone under 24 points in 4 straight games. Now he gets the Panthers, though. The Panthers have been much worse against the run than the pass. I still think he's a better option than Fields. I still have him as a top 5 quarterback this week. The only quarterbacks I'm playing over Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's it. I'm playing Dak over Fields, over Purdy, over Kyler, over Herbert, over Dobbs. Dak's got to be started. Yeah, he's too hot. He's too hot right now to bench. Deontay or Warren. I'm going Warren over Deontay for sure. I don't think you can trust the passing attack for the Steelers at all this week. All right, Sam, trade development here. Justin, Kamara and Hollywood for Ayuk and B-Rob. Win now mode. Yeah, I don't love giving up Hollywood. I would take Ayuk over Hollywood. I think the Cardinals still have their bye, right? If I'm correct there. So if that is the case, I think that's probably fine. The player prop of the day. We are 18-6 so far this season. We're going with Luke Musgrave over 2.5 receptions. Luke Musgrave over 28.5 receiving yards. That is the free player prop of the day. He has hit this receiving line in 4 of his last 5 games. The Chargers have allowed this reception line in 3 or 4 consecutive games. This is the lock of the day. Luke Musgrave over 2.5 receptions and Luke Musgrave over 28.5 receiving yards. Let me pull up the game logs here for Musgrave. But yeah, I do like him a lot in this spot at these lines. Musgrave's only been under 2 receptions once this season. He's had at least 2 receptions every game but 1. So you give me a line at 2.5, I'm going to like that a lot. I like when the floor for my receptions props are pretty much at where the line is. And the ceiling's much higher. He could easily get 6, 7, 8 receptions in this game. We've seen that from tight ends against the Chargers already this season, especially of late. Let me read you some of these tight ends that have played the Chargers recently. Sam Laporta and Brock Wright last week combined for 6 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. The week before that, Tyler Conklin, 6 catches, 66 yards. The week before that, Cole Kmet, 10 catches, 79 yards. The week before that, Travis Kelce, 12 catches, 179, and a touchdown. So yeah, I like these Luke Musgrave props a lot. I think they're significantly too low. I am playing Alexander Madison over Ty Chandler. I do think that makes sense. Pull the wide receiver tiers here. I would go Dobbs over Tua. I would play Hollywood Brown over McBride if I had to choose between those 2 guys. Pollard, Conner, or Singletary. Yeah, this one's super close. Let me put the running back rankings again on the YouTube Live. I do think I have. Yeah, I have Conner 2 spots ahead of Singletary. So I would go Conner, then Singletary, then Pollard. I have Conner and Singletary ahead of Tony Pollard, though. And again, the blowout games for the Cowboys are not the games where you want to be starting Tony Pollard. Not the games. You want the close games. That's the games to start Tony Pollard where he could actually see significant volume. But in the blowout games, they're not going to give him more than 15 touches. Devontae Smith or Kenneth Walker. Yeah, I would go Devontae Smith over Kenneth Walker this week. I do have Fields 1 spot ahead of Kyler Murray. I am playing Brock Purdy over Justin Herbert. D-Hop versus Marquise Brown. Definitely a close one here. I got Marquise Brown in tier 3. I got DeAndre Hopkins in tier 4. I would go Marquise Brown over DeAndre Hopkins. I am playing James Cook over Alexander Madison. I play B-Rob over Walker for sure. Brian Robinson needs to be started, guys. There's no Antonio Gibson this week. It's a huge, huge, huge deal for Brian Robinson. I have him actually ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs this week against the Giants. A smash spot here for Brian Robinson. I think he has to be started too in DraftKings lineups as well. Rondale Moore or Gabe Davis. Yeah, I'm going Rondale over Gabe. I'm going McBride over Evan Ingram for sure too. I got McBride to my tight end 2 this week, guys. Tight end 2. Start Trey McBride for sure against the Texans. I do think this game between the Cardinals and Texans, one of the more exciting games of the week, one of the more likely games to be a shootout as well. Ayuk or Kupp. Yeah, do not bench Cooper Kupp. Absolutely not. No benching Cooper Kupp. I'm playing Addison over Ford in PPR. This is half PPR. It does make it closer. I still think I'd go Addison over Ford, though. All right, we got Matthew in the YouTube live here. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, by the way, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I'm telling you, it helps me way more than you could possibly realize. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, smash the like button. Hit the follow button. It helps me a lot more than you realize. It takes you guys like 2 seconds. All right, Adams, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Swift, Cortland Sutton, or Singletary. Yeah, so you're starting Devontae Adams here. I think I have Singletary and Swift actually pretty close. I would go Swift over Singletary. I think you bench Kirk here and Sutton. I think you go Swift and Singletary and Adams. You bench Christian Kirk. You bench Courtland Sutton. I would play Javonte Williams over Rashad White. I'm not benching Achane. I'm not doing it. Why is Brock Purdy ahead of Justin Herbert in my QB rankings? And it's because the matchup here for Brock Purdy is absolutely fire. He gets the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. The second best run defense in the league, in my opinion, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, only behind the Philadelphia Eagles. Both these defenses, pass funnel defenses. The Buccaneers have been crushed by the pass this season. They're allowing the 6th most points per game to quarterbacks this year. Will Levis was a dud last week, but the 2 weeks before that, C.J. Stroud dropped 41. Josh Allen dropped 30 points. We saw Jared Goff go for 22. We saw Jalen Hurts go for 22. Very few quarterbacks have gone under 15 points against the Buccaneers defense. I like Brock Purdy for that reason a lot. And then on the other side, you got Justin Herbert in a somewhat difficult matchup here against the Packers, who have been the 6th best defense against quarterbacks this season. So yeah, that's why I'm going with Purdy over Herbert, really matchup based for this week. I would take Herbert over Purdy rest of the season. Rondale Moore, Gabe Davis. Yeah, it's got to be Rondale over Gabe Davis. I'm playing McBride over Dalton Kincaid as well. Seeing a TikTok live subscriber comment here a little higher up in the TikTok live from Ashley. Morning, Sam. Good morning. Kittle, Kincaid, Debo, Rice, half PPR. Yes, you're going Debo over Kittle and Kincaid. I think I would play Rice. I think you go Kincaid, Debo, and Rice over Kittle. I don't like starting 2 tight ends. It sounds like you might even be starting 3 tight ends there. Aaron Jones or Achane. You're not benching Achane, guys. Do not bench Achane. You absolutely need to start Achane. You have Achane. Good job getting him. Put him in your starting lineup at all costs. Purdy or Dobbs. Yeah, I'm going Purdy over Dobbs. Have a great day as well. My dude, Sam, Aaron Jones or Achane. Yeah, it's Achane over Aaron Jones. Let me pull the running back ranks again. I got Achane as my number 5 running back this week. The only running backs I'm playing over Achane are Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Austin Eckler, and Christian McCaffrey. End of list. End of list. I'm playing Achane over Gibbs. I'm playing Achane over Brian Robinson. I'm playing Achane over Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Javonte Williams, Aaron Jones, Rashad White, Saquon Barkley. Playing Achane over all of these guys. It's going to be a run-heavy game against the Raiders. Achane leads all running backs in basically all stats. In points, PPR points, he leads them in rushing yards. He leads them in touchdowns per game. Everything per game, Achane leads because he's been insanely efficient. He's averaging a touchdown. He's averaging a first down per carry. He's averaging over 10 yards per carry, guys. Absolutely insane. Flex start, Addison or Hollywood Brown. Yeah, this one's definitely close. I do think I'll put the wide receiver ranks here. I'll put the wide receiver tiers here up again on the TikTok live too. I do have Hollywood Brown ahead of Addison. They're actually back-to-back here in my rankings. I would go Hollywood Brown over Addison personally. It's close. I do really like the chance of this game, though, being a shootout between the Cardinals and the Texans. The Vikings game, Weatherman Sam is here, guys. I got you covered. And the Vikings game is one of the games I'm a tiny bit concerned about weather-wise. There's going to be some rain in this the Broncos at Vikings game. Wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour in the Vikings game. Not the best pass game environment there. I think enough reason to play Marquise Brown over Jordan Addison, for example. I still think Addison's a good start in a lot of spots, but I think this is an okay tiebreaker with wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour. And there's also somewhat concerning weather in the Chiefs Eagles game tomorrow night. Not as concerning, though. Light rain, 10 to 15 mile an hour wind. Nothing major, I'd say, to be concerned about. But I'm moderately concerned about the Broncos and Vikings game tonight weather-wise. Tank or DK? Yeah, I'm going DK over Tank. Thank you as well. Same to you, Kylo. Dobbs or Goff? I got Dobbs over Goff. I think they're actually back-to-back in my QB rankings. Achane, Pollard, Henry. Yeah, you got to bench Henry. Actually, I think it's close between Pollard and Henry, actually. Let me pull those up. But you're definitely playing Achane there. Yeah, you're benching Henry. I'm playing Pollard over Henry still. Achane or Breece Hall? Yeah, I got Breece Hall over Achane. I'm not benching Breece. Yo, Sam, how's it going? It's going great, man. Javonte, Gibbs, or James Conner? Yeah, it's Gibbs over Javonte, over James Conner. And then DJ Moore, Tank Taylor, Devontae Smith. It's DJ Moore. Start DJ Moore, Justin Fields back. Start Jahmyr Gibbs against the Bears as well. He's an elite option. He's in my second tier of running backs today. I'll pull my running back rankings again on the YouTube live. Waddle or Kincaid? I hate starting 2 tight ends. It's Waddle. I don't have a defense list for you, but let me list some of the best defenses just based on the biggest spreads of the day. The Lions defense definitely in play today. The Cowboys defense is an elite option. The Dolphins defense against the Raiders an elite option. The Commanders defense against the Giants, an elite option. The Jaguars defense against the Titans. Jags are 7-point favorites. The 49ers defense against the Buccaneers. The 49ers are 14-point favorites in that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Bills defense against the Jets, they're 8-point favorites in that game. Those are probably my favorite defenses, just based on the spreads of the games. I do think the spreads are the best place to look when you're thinking through which defenses make sense in fantasy. You're not benching Patrick Mahomes. He is the number one QB this week against the pass funnel Eagles defense. Kyler Murray or Josh Allen. Allen against the Jets scares me. Yeah, I get that. Allen's been running, though, so much that it's so consistent this year for Josh Allen because of the rushing touchdowns. I think you got to play Josh Allen over Kyler Murray. I mean, look at this. I mean, he was number 15 QB last week. He does not have a game under 14 points since week 1. That game was against the Jets, to be fair. But yeah, I'm playing Josh Allen over Kyler Murray. I get the concern, but I still think Allen's the top 3 option this week. Sam, one flex PPR league. My running backs are Saquon and Brees. Yeah, it's Brees over Saquon easily. I'd go Puka over Waddle as well. I think I would play Ayuk over Mostert in a PPR league. And then Singletary versus Saquon is close. I think I do have Saquon over Singletary, but it's close. Honestly, if you could play Tank Dell over Saquon, I would do that. I don't think you can, though. So, yeah, I would just replace Mostert with Ayuk. That's the one change I would make. And I think Waddle and Tank Dell are actually pretty close, too. But I do have Waddle ahead of Tank, just barely. Jose, good to see you in the TikTok live. Rashee Rice, Singletary, Aaron Jones, or Hollywood Brown? Yeah, it's Singletary here, I think, over Aaron Jones. Let me pull up the running back rankings here again. Actually, might have Aaron Jones. I do have – it's Aaron Jones. Yeah, Aaron Jones over Singletary, Aaron Jones over Hollywood Brown. I'll play all these guys, I think, over Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice has a good ceiling, but the floor is low for Rashee Rice still, even a good matchup. I would go Aaron Jones there. Brees or Achane? Yeah, I'm going Brees over Achane. Brees is one of the 4 running backs I'm starting over Achane this week. That's it. There's only 4. Swift or Tank Dell? Yeah, I'd go Tank over Swift. Love the app. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, the best way you could possibly support me, check out the Walter Picks app. It is free in the iOS and Android app stores, in the YouTube description. It's in the TikTok bio. I do appreciate it. Hurts or Stroud? Yes, Hurts, man. It's Hurts. You can't bench Hurts. Not a single QB has gone over 20 points against the Chiefs, and I'm still standing here telling you you can't bench him. Stroud is actually right behind him in my QB ranks this week. But yeah, you got to start Jalen Hurts, man. The consistency, we're looking at this consistency here from Josh Allen. It's even crazier consistent from Jalen Hurts. And in both of them, it's because of the rushing. Jalen Hurts has not finished outside the top 10 of fantasy quarterbacks since week 1. He's been a top 5 quarterback in 5 straight games. And this is a game where the Chiefs can legitimately put up points against the Eagles defense that the Jalen Hurts is going to have to keep up. It could be like the Super Bowl. I'm a little bit nervous about the weather, just a little bit, though. Not enough to get me off of Jalen Hurts in favor of CJ Stroud. You got to start Hurts. You got to start Hurts. You got to start Mahomes. You got to start Josh Allen. Who's better, Mostert or Henry? Yes, Mostert over Henry for sure. Jalen Warren, Quentin Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Rondale Moore, need one PPR. I kind of think the answer here is Rondale Moore. Is Rondale Moore or Jalen Warren for me? I know Brandon Cooks popped off last week. I think he's the boomiest and bustiest option of this list, though. Pulling up the Brandon Cooks game log, he exploded last week, 32 points. He was wide receiver 3. He had 10 targets, by far the most of his season. He set season highs in basically every single category. But he still only played 53% of the snaps. He's only running around on half the plays and a much worse matchup. I'm going with Rondale Moore here. Rondale Moore usage was good last week. I do like that Cardinals-Texans game as one to attack this week for sure. Fields or Stroud? Yeah, it's Stroud over Fields. Swift or Dell? I would go Tank Dell over Swift. I'm going to restart the TikTok live. Having some connection issues there. Devontae Smith, K9, or Tank Dell? Thanks. Let's just do this position by position first. So Javonte versus K9, I would go Javonte over K9. And then Tank Dell versus Devontae, I would go Tank over Devontae. So it's between Tank and Javonte. Let's do that comparison here. The usage has been really elite here for Javonte Williams. Tank Dell too, though. I mean, back-to-back games over 30% target share. Yeah, the answer here is Javonte Williams. Not a great matchup for him against the Vikings. A better spot here for Tank Dell. But yeah, the usage is just too elite, I think, for Javonte to bench him. I think that makes sense. I think the ceiling is higher for Tank, but I'm okay going Javonte over him. Good morning, Sam. Tyler Lockett or Amari Cooper in flex. Yeah, it's Lockett over Coop. Would you trade Waddle in Singletary for JJ? Or if I had to, Cup instead of Waddle? No, do not do it with Cup. With Waddle, I'm cool with this, especially if you're likely to make the fantasy playoffs. Yo, Sam, Andrew, how's it going, man? Singletary or Terry McLaurin at flex? Yeah, it's Singletary. It's Singletary. He had 30 carries last week. Terry McLaurin is a good matchup on paper, but the Commanders also spread the ball around a lot, giving Terry McLaurin a much worse floor than Singletary this week. Good matchup for Singletary this week as well. What's your thoughts on Nico and the Texans offense versus Garrett Wilson in that terrible QB, Zach Wilson in standard? Yeah, so I do like Nico Collins. I do think he'll slide back into the wide receiver one role for the Texans. I'd play Garrett Wilson over him, though, even with Zach Wilson at QB. Garrett Wilson, the target share numbers are just insane, guys. Garrett Wilson does not have a game under a 27% target share. Not a single game. Absolutely ridiculous. Weatherman Sam is here, guys, for you today. And there's a couple games. Actually, neither of them are about to be started, though. The biggest concerning weather game of the day, it is tonight with the Broncos at the Minnesota Vikings. Actually, I think it's the Vikings at the Denver Broncos because the Vikings playing in a dome. But there's going to be some rain in that game and wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour in the Vikings and the Broncos game. That is concerning. A little concerning. It's not like maximum concern. We have to bench all those guys, but it's not the best pass game environment. The Eagles at the Chiefs on Monday night. Going to have some light rain in that one and some wind in that one too. 15-mile-an-hour wind gusts in that one. I'm not that concerned about that one overall. I still think the Chiefs will throw a ton. All right, do I start Fields or Purdy? Yeah, so let me go to the tiers here, guys. I got you guys. I got it all figured out with the tiers this week on the TikTok Live. We got Purdy and Fields back-to-back. I'm going Fields over Purdy, though. With the rushing, I do think that makes sense. I really like the spot for Brock Purdy this week, though. The Buccaneers are a pass funnel defense. I am playing Purdy over Kyler. I am playing Purdy over Herbert. I am playing Purdy over Dobbs, over Goff, over Tua. Because of the matchup, we've seen two different quarterbacks go over 30 points against the Bucs. The 49ers are 14-point favorites in this game, but with how good the run defense is for the Bucs, I still think they're going to be really pass heavy. We saw Goff go for 22 points against the Bucs. We saw Josh Allen go for a 30 bomb. CJ Stroud went for a 41-point bomb against the Bucs. Good matchup here for Brock Purdy. All right, we're going with Goff over Tua just barely. All right, let's go to the tight end tiers. I think the tight end tiers are pretty clear this week. Definitely, you could argue all day with me about the order of the guys I have in tier 2. Tier 1, not a debate. Travis Kelce in his own tier. He's in his own tier, I would argue, the rest of the season now that Mark Andrews is out for the year. But this week, the tier 2, that's starting to take form here. Pulled the tight end list here on the YouTube live too. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, guys. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the like button, hit the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like and subscribe button as well. But the second tier is clear. It's McBride, Hawkinson, Laporta, and Kincaid. And I like McBride more than all these guys. Again, we could argue back and forth between the order of within these tiers, but the tier 2 is pretty clear. You want one of these guys. And if you don't, I think you're at a disadvantage in your matchup this week. I think Kittle has the ceiling to get into tier 2, maybe even tier 1, but the floor is pretty low for Kittle with Deebo and Ayuk and CMC all healthy. I think the floor for Ingram is fine, but the ceiling's just not there for the Jaguars passing attack. Similar thing with Dalton Schultz. But yeah, Trey McBride against the Texans. I do like the shootout potential in this Cardinals-Texans game. I'm not sleeping on TJ Hawkinson, but again, I am a little bit nervous about the weather in that game. Rain and wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour in that Vikings game tonight. But yeah, TJ Hawkinson, sure, you could argue him over McBride all day, but they're in the same tier, at least this week. Hey, Sam, I appreciate the help. Pick one, Pollard, Ford, or Javonte Williams. Yeah, so it's Javonte over Ford. It's Javonte over Tony Pollard. Let me pull the running back tiers here on the TikTok live. Javonte Williams' usage has been extremely elite, guys. Javonte Williams is near the top of the league in carries every single week the last couple of weeks. In week 8, 27 carries for Javonte. Then they the bye. Then he comes in week 10, he gets 21 carries against the Bills. He hasn't scored a touchdown. Javonte Williams doesn't have a touchdown yet on the ground. He does have 2 receiving touchdowns, though, back-to-back weeks. And again, with the weather in this game, between the Vikings and the Broncos tonight, 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts and some rain, don't be surprised if we see Javonte get leaned on really, really heavily. All right, let me go to the QB ranks again, seeing some people ask, for those. And yes, here's the QB rankings. And I have them within the tiers that they're in order of how I would start them. I'm going with Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. They're the clear top tier. I don't care about the difficult matchups for Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. I still think you need to start them. Their consistency in terms of rushing touchdowns has been absolutely bonkers. You got to start Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. Guys, Jalen Hurts has not finished outside the top 5 quarterbacks in over a month. He hasn't finished as outside the top 10 quarterbacks since week 1. I'll go with the wide receiver tiers here in just a second. I did see a lot of quarterback questions. Good morning, Sam. Terry McLaurin over Ford for flex. I feel that Ford can have a big week in a run-heavy game. Yeah, I like Ford this week too. I'm fine going Ford over McLaurin. I think in PPR, it's a close call. But the Browns are going to run extensively this week, and that means Jerome Ford is going to get a lot of run. He's, I think, at over 17 carries in back-to-back weeks now. The only concern with Jerome Ford is what is the true ceiling for Jerome Ford in a game with the lowest over-under of the week, in a game where Kareem Hunt's probably going to get the goal line work too. But yeah, the receiving role is there for Ford, and the rushing volume is there for Ford. All right, let me pull the wide receiver tiers here. Montgomery or Swift? Yeah, I'd go Monty over Swift. Revenge game for David Montgomery today. Very excited for that one, for sure. Mixon. Stat Mixon, so now I need to clutch 2 running backs. All right, Monty Pollard, Rashad White, James Cook, Devontae Smith, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Sorry for popping this up earlier and not getting to it. Yeah, so the 2 running backs here, you got to go David Montgomery. And then I think Pollard versus Rashad White's pretty close here. It's Rashad White. Yeah, it's Rashad White over Tony Pollard. And then you're going Devontae Smith. So Monty, Rashad White, Devontae Smith. And yeah, one of the best games of the season. Maybe the best game actually of the season for Joe Mixon on Thursday night. Pacheco or Javonte, do not start Isaiah Pacheco, guys. You need to bench Isaiah Pacheco. The Eagles are the best run defense in the NFL. They have the best defensive line in the league. They have one of the worst. In the gap between their defensive line and their secondary is one of the biggest gaps in the league, maybe the biggest gap. They are one of the most pass funnel defenses in the league. That's good for Mahomes. It's good for Kelsey. It's good for Rashee Rice. It's good for all the pass catchers. It's really, really bad for Isaiah Pacheco. I would not start Pacheco this week. Let me go to the running back tiers again here. I'm seeing some questions about why DJ Moore so high. It's because Justin Fields is back, guys. We look at the game logs when DJ Moore played with Justin Fields, and DJ Moore is a top 5 wide receiver, guys, per game in games with Justin Fields. He had several weeks where he won you the fantasy week. One of those weeks, he dropped 50 points against the Commanders. I mean, dream spot there against the Commanders, but not a bad matchup here against the Lions. The Bears are 8.5-point underdogs against the Detroit Lions. They're going to have to throw in this game. They're going to be losing. And the Lions secondary, another one of these pass funnel defenses, the Detroit Lions. They've given up the 11th most points to QBs, the 10th most points to receivers, but only they've given up the 5th fewest points to running backs. Receivers have crushed the Lions. Keenan Allen had 40 points, guys, last week against the Lions. DJ Moore is in the Keenan Allen role for the Chicago Bears, and his quarterback's finally back. So yeah, you got to start DJ Moore this week, I think. Start Javonte or Jones. Yeah, I got Javonte one spot ahead of Jones, both at the top of tier 3 here. Alvin Kamara is not playing this week. The Saints are on bye. Tank Dell or Garrett Wilson? It's Garrett Wilson over Tank Dell. The usage for Garrett Wilson is just too elite. He doesn't have a game under 27% target share. Most receivers in the NFL don't even average 27% target share. Garrett Wilson doesn't have a game under that. Garrett Wilson leads all receivers in target share this season. Thielen, DK Metcalf, or Mostert, pick 2. And then Hopkins or Sutton. Yeah, it's DK and Mostert over Thielen for me this week. It's close between Thielen and Mostert, but I'm going Mostert over Thielen. I think the Dolphins will be very run-heavy against the Raiders. And then Hopkins or Sutton, this one's close, man. I think pretty comparable options, honestly. I would probably lean Hopkins over Sutton personally. I think I do have that in my rankings. Yeah, I have Hopkins just a few spots ahead of Sutton in my wide receiver rankings. Let's see what Walter says in the app. By the way, guys, the best way you could possibly support me, check out the Walter Picks app. It's free. It's in the TikTok bio. It's in the YouTube description. It is the best app for fantasy and betting insights on the market. And again, it's free. And if you use code SAM when you sign up that supports me and gives you free 7 days to all the premium features in the app. And again, most of the app is free as it is. Yeah, you got to go Hopkins over Sutton. I do think Marvin Mims actually does get more involved this week. I don't think that necessarily detracts from Sutton or Judy. I would play Sutton and Judy over Mims still, but I don't hate the Mims reception prop line this week. Hey, Sam, good morning from NC. How we doing, Nick? Deontay, Warren, Kittle, or Hunt in half PPR flex must win. You cannot start Kareem Hunt this week. Do not start him. Kareem Hunt is a ticking, he's a landmine this week for sure. He needs to score a touchdown or he's probably going under 5 points this week. So yeah, I'm not starting Kareem Hunt, especially in half PPR. I'm playing Jaylen Warren over Deontay. So this comes down to Jaylen Warren versus George Kittle. And this is an interesting one because the Bucs are a pass funnel defense, which is good news for George Kittle. And Jaylen Warren gets a tough matchup here against the Browns. I think the answer is Kittle. Yeah, it's Kittle. Half PPR. Let's see if that changes it. Part of the reason that the Walter Picks app is unmatched too is it takes into account your custom league settings. Let me know the settings in these start sits because it does help me a lot. And yeah, the answer here is Kittle over Jaylen Warren. I think that does make sense. I'm playing Kittle over Deontay over Kareem Hunt as well. I do not want to start Deontay Johnson at all against the Browns, especially coming off a one-catch game for Deontay Johnson. Tank or Devontae Smith? Yeah, so let me go to the wide receiver tiers here again. I got Tank in tier 3 here if you're watching live on TikTok. I got Devontae Smith, I believe, in tier 3 as well, but later on in tier 3. I'm going Tank over Devontae Smith. I really think you want to attack this Cardinals-Texans game, going to be a high-scoring shootout game that you want a piece of. That's why I like CJ Stroud. Again, this week, he's my QB4. CJ Stroud is my QB4 this week. Definitely one of the more exciting games of the week. Hey, Sam, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to everybody in this live stream. Happy Sunday, the best day of the week. We got 8 games kicking off in just a couple of hours. I'm pumped, if you can't tell. I'm battling through a cold. Also, if you can't tell, I do apologize for the extra raspy voice today, but we're battling through, of course. Tiaje Spears or Ty Chandler. You can't start Ty Chandler. There's no starting Ty Chandler this week, and I don't care if he gets a fluky touchdown, if he ends up being a little bit more involved. Alexander Madison is starting, and that makes Ty Chandler absolutely unstartable in fantasy. So you got to go Tiaje Spears. And Tiaje Spears is an interesting one because the Titans are 7-point underdogs against the Jaguars. That's the type of game script that is good for Tiaje Spears. Ty Chandler, meanwhile, he played more last week, 44% of the snaps. But guys, look at his usage for Ty Chandler in the games where Madison played. I mean, he's out there getting 0 touches in some of these games. 0 carries, 0 targets in most of these games for Ty Chandler. I know Cam Akers was hurt, and he's stepping into the Cam Akers role. I know it's a good matchup against the Broncos on paper. The Broncos defense has been better of late. But yeah, I'm not starting Ty Chandler in any situation this week with Alexander Madison, surprisingly, coming back from concussion protocol without missing a game. Purdy or Geno Smith? Yeah, so let me go to the QB ranks here. You got to start Brock Purdy this week, guys. Brock Purdy is in a smash spot this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The other guy you got to start this week, guys, is Devon Achane. Start him over basically everybody. There's only 4 running backs I'm starting over Devon Achane. Wan'Dale Robinson or Donald Parham. Parham is kind of sneaking this week, but yeah, I'm not playing Parham over Wan'Dale. Going back to the Achane thing, I'm playing Achane over every single running back not named Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Christian McCaffrey, and Austin Eckler. That's it. Those are the only 4 running backs I'm starting over Devon Achane. Achane leads all run. Let me pull up this Achane comparison again, just to remind us, guys, what Achane was. I'll compare him against Rachaad White here, and we look at his fantasy stats. Devon Achane, number 1 in fantasy points per game, number 1 in total yards per game, number 1 in total touchdowns per game. This is how efficient Devon Achane's been. Number 1 in rushing yards per game, number 1 in yards per carry. Devon Achane is averaging 12.1 yards per carry, guys. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. This is why he's in tier 1. This is why even if Devon Achane is eased in his first game back, he can get 8 carries and go for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you look at the receiving stats, and Devon Achane is near the top in some of those as well. Not quite as high in terms of the yards per game, in terms of the targets per game. He's not on Rachaad White's level here. But yeah, Devon Achane needs to be started for sure over basically everybody this week in a good spot against the Raiders. James Conner over Derrick Henry for sure. I was right about benching Derrick Henry last week. I don't think he's a must bench as much this week, but I do think he can be benched for James Conner. Okay, I just traded Najee for Dobbs because of Burrow. Thoughts and Fields or Howell? Yeah, I'll go Fields over Howell. I like the spot for him against the Lions more than I like Howell's spot against the Giants. Howell has been really pass heavy. The Commanders have been really pass heavy, but can they really be that pass heavy when they're up by 14 points against the Giants in the first quarter? I don't think they can. I don't think they will be. So that's why I like Fields, who's going to be playing from behind. Yeah, I like this trade too. I'm fine trading away Najee Harris. He's not a guy that you want in your starting lineup most weeks. Is Achane starting? Achane is playing. I don't know if he's going to start for the Dolphins. I don't really care if he starts. As long as he gets a third of the work for the Dolphins, I'm going to want to have started him. Thanks for the gift, Rocco. I appreciate that, man. What's up, Sam? Pick 2, full PPR. Wilson, Dotson, Addison, Connor. And I had Andrews back to tight end purgatory. Is Isaiah likely to move? Yeah, Duke, man. I'm with you. In 3 of my 7 high-stakes fantasy leagues, I had Mark Andrews. I'm still recovering, man. I still haven't – I'm still in denial. And, yeah, I think Isaiah Likely is going to have to be the move. It's purgatory out there with tight ends. The waiver wire is so bleak. If you can get Luke Musgrave, I don't hate that. Garrett Wilson is a start over all of these guys, though. I'm starting Garrett Wilson over Dotson and over Addison. I'm starting Connor over Dotson and Addison, too. I would go Garrett Wilson and Connor here for the start. Sit question. Puka or DK? Yeah, there's no benching Puka this week, guys. Puka and Cooper Kupp, they need to be started. I got Puka over Garrett Wilson, Puka over Adams, Puka over Ayuk, Puka over Metcalf. So, yeah, you're starting Puka Nacua. He's in tier 2 for me when it comes to wide receivers. Tony Pollard or Scary Terry? That one's really interesting, actually. Let me do that comparison on the YouTube Live right now. I think I'd probably go Pollard over Scary Terry, but it's close. Debo, DK, Adams, Smith, Kirk, or Rice. Pick 3. So you got to bench Rice here. You got to start Debo. You start the first 3. Debo, DK, and Adams. I would play Debo over Devontae Smith and Debo over Kirk, I think. All right, we're going to do Pollard versus McLaurin here. I think this one is pretty close. Pollard has a great matchup on paper. Excuse me. The Panthers have been horrible against running backs, but also Pollard has been bad in games that are blowouts because they aren't giving him huge workloads in these games. McLaurin has a good matchup on paper too, but I'm also a little scared how much they're actually going to pass. And yes, if it's a PPR league, you got to go McLaurin over Pollard. I do think that makes sense looking at this. I think the ceiling's probably a bit higher for Pollard, but the floor is pretty good here for McLaurin. Both have good matchups here. Yeah, makes sense. I would go McLaurin in PPR. If it's half PPR, I think it's closer. Got a TikTok Live subscriber comment. By the way, guys, if you do the TikTok Live subscription, it's like $5 or something. You get 100% of your comments answered 100% of the time. Ashley, thanks for doing the live subscription. I would go a Gino or Lawrence QB2 rest of the season. Yeah, that one's pretty close, man. I'd probably lean Gino over Russ, but it's close. I still think Gino has the best starting 3 receivers in the league. Lockett is dealing with an injury, though. Matthew Gallo, man, how's it going? Best day of the week. Need an extra opinion after looking at Walter. QB, Fields or Howell? Running back, pick one. Madison, Chandler, Warren, or Herbert? Yeah, I think it's Warren here over Madison, Chandler, and Herbert. It's a good spot here for Madison and Chandler. I'm scared to start either of them, though, with the split backfield and just how the Vikings running backs have played. Jalen Warren against the Browns, though. Honestly, this is super close, Matt. Let me pull the running back tiers here again on the TikTok Live to look through this. I'll pull the running back ranks here on the YouTube Live also. And, yeah, I have Warren down in tier 6. I don't even have Madison in. Yeah, it's Warren, I think, over these guys. And then Fields versus Sam Howell. It's Fields. It's Fields over Sam Howell. And Sam Howell is a good matchup on paper against the Giants. But, again, they're huge favorites in this game. The Giants are 9-point favorites at home. The over-under is not very high. I do think it's going to be a more run-heavy game than usual for the Commanders. And then Justin Fields, he's going to get crushed by the Lions. The Lions are even bigger favorites, I think, in that one. 8.5 or 9-point favorites. Similar favorites, I guess. 8-point favorites for the Lions at home. That over-under is 48 points, though. A full 9 extra points expected to be scored in the Lions-Bears game compared to the Giants-Commanders game. And the rushing is more elite for Fields, too, over Sam Howell. Let's compare these two, actually. Justin Fields, guys, I know he hasn't played in a while. He's having a huge, on a per-game basis, he's having a fantastic season. It's been a really an elite season for Justin Fields from a fantasy perspective. I think he's going to beat Howell in most of these stats. Well, Howell beats him in points per game, beats him in total yards per game. Let's look at the rushing here, though. And yards per carry is a little bit higher for Sam Howell, but 8 carries per game, 40 rushing yards per game, more touchdowns per game here for Justin Fields. He's number 2 in yards per game, number 3 in carries per game. I'd go Fields over Howell this week. I do think that makes a lot of sense. Puka or Brian Robinson? Yeah, I think I'm going Brian Robinson actually over Puka. You got to start B-Rob. There's no Antonio Gibson this week. He gets the Giants. It's going to be a run-heavy game. They're 9-point favorites. Laporta or McBride? I need a huge win this week. Make it or break it. Also, White or Connor? Yeah, I think I would go Rashad White over James Conner, just barely. I think that's pretty close. And then I'm going McBride over Laporta. And part of the reason is I think that Cardinals-Texans game is going to be a shootout game that you want to attack in fantasy. I don't feel great about Madison or Ty Chandler. I would play Madison over Ty Chandler, though, seeing that comment again in the TikTok Live. Singletary or Addison in a PPR league. In PPR, oh God, I want to say Addison. I usually like siding with the wide receivers in the PPR leagues. Singletary's coming off a 30-carry game, and he has a good matchup this week. Plus a little bit of concerning weather in that Vikings game. Again, I think that is a good enough tiebreaker here to go Singletary. Again, the weather report, Weatherman Sam is here for you guys. The Broncos I think it's actually Vikings at Broncos because the Vikings playing a dome. The Vikings at Broncos game. There's going to be some rain and wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour tonight in the Vikings and Broncos game. That is not a good pass game environment. It's not extremely concerning, but it is somewhat concerning for sure. Enough that I would play Singletary over Jordan Addison. Enough that I would play a few different guys over Jordan Addison. All right. The Chiefs-Eagles game also is going to have some wind. I'm not concerned about that game really at all, though. Yo, what's going on? Sam, Jack Hill, how we doing, man? Devontae Adams, Devontae Smith, Cortland Sutton, Brock Purdy, and Justin Fields. Yeah, so you got to start Devontae Adams here over Devontae Smith. I'm playing Devontae Smith over Sutton also. And I'm playing Fields over Brock Purdy, I think, too. Yeah, I got Fields one spot ahead of Purdy. All these guys are pretty close. But yeah, that's how I would play it in that spot. Mostert or Nico have A-Chain. I don't hate the Mostert A-Chain double stack this week at all. I think it's a high floor, high ceiling play. I don't hate the Gibbs, David Montgomery double stack. I don't hate the Puka Cooper Kupp double stack. I think all those stacks, it doesn't feel great playing the same position on the same team. But in those spots, I do think it makes sense. Jacoby Myers, Calvin Ridley, Jalen Warren, half PPR, bench 1. Yeah, I think you bench Jacoby here. You bench Jacoby or Jalen Warren. I think I'd probably play Ridley ahead of Myers. Let's refresh on the news. I think we did get some news here that Rico Dowdle's out. Expect more looks like Aaron Rodgers as a December return. Wow. Not seeing any big news reports here since the start of the stream. I do think Rico Dowdle is going to be out. Israel Abanikanda. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He should see a few snaps today. Interesting rookie player. Devon Achane, supposed to be a full go today. They're saying the most recent return for Aaron Rodgers would be week 16. That would be absolutely insane if he's able to return by then. That is the fantasy playoffs. Jalen Guyton is out. Alexander Madison is in. Jalen Guyton is out. That's another bump for Quentin Johnson. There's just no receivers left. There's no bodies left for the Chargers. And then Michael Wilson is out. Also, that is good for Rondale Moore. It is good for Marquise Brown. It is good for Trey McBride. Guys, Michael Wilson, I think he had a 20% target share last week. Let me pull up the Michael Wilson game log here. But I don't think this is a minor injury here in terms of the impact of the target shares. Yeah, Michael Wilson, 19% target share last week. This is the rookie wide receiver for the Cardinals. He's out this week. That is 90% of the targets going to be funneled towards Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore, and Trey McBride, and James Conner. Lockett is likely playing, but he is a game-time decision with a hamstring injury. I am pretty concerned about him for that reason. All right, let's go through the tiers here again. Let's pull up the QB tiers and the QB rankings to start off. Let me talk through my QB rankings here a bit. So there's the elite tier here with Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts. Let me hide this comment on the YouTube live. Start these guys. I don't care that Hurts and Allen have tough matchups. You got to start them. And Mahomes is in a dream spot against the pass funnel Eagles defense this week. So you're starting Mahomes in all situations. You're starting Hurts and Allen in all spots as well. Stroud is the next best elite option. He leads off tier 2 for me. Start Stroud. Dak is on absolute fire. He's been a top 3 fantasy quarterback in 4 straight games. Where I'm from, that's called on fire. He's no longer heating up. He's on fire. You got to start Dak. I got Fields ahead of Purdy. I think Fields, rushing-wise, is an elite option. He's number 2 among quarterbacks in rushing yards per game. He's averaging 8 carries per game that also ranks second. And he gets a matchup against the Lions, who have not been great against quarterbacks and are 8-point favorites against the Bears. So Fields playing from behind, sign me up for that. Brock Purdy's the next best option for me. I'm playing Purdy over Kyler, Purdy over Herbert, Purdy over Dobbs, Purdy over Goff, Purdy over Tua, because Purdy gets the Bucs, who are a pass funnel defense, and Brock Purdy has the best supporting weapons in the entire league. They're huge favorites, 14-point favorites against the Bucs. Start Brock Purdy in that spot. I do think the 49ers will throw more than usual against a really elite run defense in the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are the second best run defense in the league, in my opinion, only after the Philadelphia Eagles. By the way, do not start Isaiah Pacheco. The tier 3 quarterbacks, all decent options. I would play Kyler over Herbert. I would play Herbert over Dobbs. I would play Dobbs over Goff and Tua. I think everyone outside the top 3 tiers here this week, you're really risking it. Russ has a tough weather game tonight against the Vikings. Not a horrible matchup, but the Broncos have been skewing very run heavy. Sam Howell is in a good matchup on paper, but I do think the Commanders could skew a little run heavy too as 8-point favorites against the Giants. Sam, it's the day I've been dreading. Got to choose between starting Achane or Mostert in the flex. Starters are unbenchable, CMC and ETN. Stan, yes, I'm going to Achane. I'm going to Achane over Mostert. Let's go to the running back ranks here for a second on the TikTok live, on the YouTube live. There's no benching Achane, guys. There's no way around it. Devon Achane leads all running backs in points per game. He leads all running backs in total yards per game. He leads all running backs in total touchdowns per game. Devon Achane has been the most efficient running back in the NFL. And I know it's a small sample size for Achane, really a 3-game sample size here from Achane. I've seen enough, though, that I'm starting Achane every time he's active. Every time I'm reading that he's a full go, which is what they're saying. No limitations for Achane this week. Maybe they ease him in, coming off an injury. But they gave him a lot of time to get to 100%. He has not played since week 5. He had the bye week. He had 5 weeks to heal up from this injury. So, yeah, I'm in on Achane against the Raiders. A good matchup here for Achane. I would play him over Mostert personally. I would play Tank Dell over Trey McBride. I would play Stroud over Purdy. Where is Montgomery? He's Monty. He's the end of tier 2. I like Montgomery a lot. I like Gibbs and Monty a lot. The revenge game for David Montgomery against the Bears. The Lions are huge favorites against the Bears also, so I do really like that spot for them. I'll talk about the wide receivers here because there's a lot of wide receiver decisions. High-level wide receiver things on my mind this week. I don't think you can start the Steelers receivers. That is both Deontay Johnson and George Pickens against the Browns. This is the lowest over-under game of the week. They're going to run, and they're going to have to run. Kenny Pickett is not going to be able to throw against the Browns. I'm a little bit nervous about Calvin Ridley. I would play Rondale Moore over him. I think Rondale Moore is one of the best sleepers of the week. I do think Marvin Mims, by the way, gets a little bit more involved this week. Thanks for the gifts and the TikTok live. I appreciate that. Tank Dell, Nico Collins. I have them back-to-back. I actually have Tank Dell ahead of Nico, but I won't be surprised either way there. I think they're both good options this week, though, for sure. I like Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuka, the bazooka a lot in a pass funnel game against the Buccaneers. Puka Nacua, I think, must start this week against the Seahawks. I feel like Cooper Kupp is in that elite tier still as well. Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, despite the difficult matchups on paper, need to be started. They're both on historic paces, breaking all sorts of records this season with Tyreek Hill and A.J. Brown. DJ Moore should be started, guys, this week. DJ Moore with Justin Fields back, playing as an underdog against the Lions. DJ Moore, if you look at the games with Justin Fields, he's a top 5 wide receiver this season in per-game numbers. Would you start any of the Bears running backs? Nope. I want nothing to do with the Bears running backs. Where's Zay? Yeah, so Zay Jones, I don't think he's even been declared as active this week, and I'm not starting him over really anyone on this list, I don't think, if he is. I would play Kupp over Ayuk. I would play DJ Moore over Tank Dell. In the guys within the same tier, guys, I have them listed in order of their ranking. All right, pick 2 here. Jalen Waddle, Saquon, or Addison. You got to start Waddle. And I think you go Addison. I feel like Waddle's going to say Saquon over Addison, and guys, Saquon, he's going down with the ship. Saquon Barkley is going down with the ship. I can't say this enough. How can we get excited about a running back on a team that cannot sustain drives and that cannot score points? His over-unders in like the 90s today for Saquon. It's because it's not a horrible matchup against the Commanders. I am, again, a little nervous about the weather in this Vikings-Broncos game tonight. 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts and rain in the game tonight, guys. Be aware of that. That is not great for Jordan Addison. And I do think it's enough for me to say Saquon in this question. But, yeah, I'm generally terrified to be starting Saquon now with how the Giants' offense looks. All right, Rondale Moore, Quentin Johnson, Nico Collins. Yeah, bench Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson, guys, there's no bodies left for the Chargers. There's no one left. Jalen Guyton is out. Josh Palmer is out. Mike Williams has been out. It's just Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen. We got like Demario Davis or something. Darius Davis, I think, is like the next receiver for the Chargers. And I still would not start Quentin Johnson over Rondale. I still would not start Quentin Johnson over Nico either. Rashee Rice or George Pickens? Got to go Rashee Rice over George Pickens for sure. All right, let's put the running back tiers here. Let's go to the running back rankings. Definitely the highlight of the running back rankings, guys. You got to start Devon Achane. There's no way around it. Start Achane for sure. Good pre-noon, Sam. Good pre-noon to you as well. I'm stressing. We got Thielen, Metcalf, or Nico. Thanks. Yeah, it's Metcalf, then it's Nico, then it's Thielen. Thielen is not a great option this week. Captain Sam, pick 3, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek, Steph Diggs, Tank Dell, or Mike Evans, full PPR. So you got to start Hill, you got to start Diggs, and yeah, you got to start Garrett Wilson. It's the first 3. Bench Tank Dell, bench Mike Evans if you have this elite of options. I would go JSN over Ridley. Howell or Tua. It's Tua over Howell. Najee or Pacheco, I want nothing to do with either of those guys, but I would play Najee. Sorry, I would play Pacheco over Najee. Najee gets the Browns. Pacheco gets the Eagles. Neither of those matchups are good at all. Good morning, Sam. Start 2 running backs and 1 flex. Aaron Jones, Monty, Rashad, Mike Evans, Devonta, and Achane. Yeah, so you're starting Achane. You're starting Aaron Jones too here, and you're starting Monty. Bench Devonta Smith, bench Mike Evans, bench Rashad White. Yep, that's what I would do. That's how my rankings have it too. White, Barkley, or Pacheco? Yeah, so I have White ahead of Barkley, and I have Barkley ahead of Pacheco by like a long shot. Do not start Pacheco, guys. It's a horrible matchup against a very, very elite Eagles defense. The, I would argue, best run defense in the entire NFL is the Philadelphia Eagles. Trade Chase and B-Rob for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Jacobs. Yes, I would do that. I'm definitely down to trade Chase for Amon-Ra just in general right now with the Joe Burrow injury. Pollard or Ford? Let's do this comparison here. I kind of think the answer is Pollard. Yeah, you got to go Pollard over Ford. Kyler or Dobbs? Yeah, I'm going Kyler over Dobbs. I'm playing Hall over Achane. There's only 4 running backs I'm playing over Achane. It's Breece Hall, it's Travis Etienne, it's Christian McCaffrey, it's Austin Eckler. That's it. Fields or Dak? Yeah, no benching Dak. Dak is way too hot to bench right now. Do not bench him. Not a great matchup in comparison to his other matchups where he's popped off. But yeah, you got to bench Dak. DJ Moore, Puka Nacua, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers. Oh, you got to pick one here. I think it's Puka over DJ Moore, but it's close. DJ Moore or Tank or Swift for flex. Yeah, it's DJ Moore. Hey, Sam, Steelers or Vikings defense today? Yeah, so let me pull up the spreads here. Look at the spreads when making these defensive decisions. The Steelers are 2-point underdogs, but the over-under is really, really low there. And then the Vikings, 3-point underdog. I would go Steelers defense. Yeah, I would go Steelers defense there. Purdy or Dobbs? It's Purdy over Dobbs. Kincaid or Laporta? Yeah, so let me go to the tight end tiers here again. I got Laporta 1 spot ahead of Kincaid. I would go D-Hop. Thanks for doing the subscription, Tyler Capin. I will get to 100% of the TikTok Live subscriber comments. And actually, the last 30 minutes of the live will be only for the TikTok Live subscribers. All right, we got Laporta or Cooper. Have Kelsey at tight end. Yeah, it's Laporta over Cooper, for sure. Amari Cooper is an absolute landmine this week with the quarterback situation in Cleveland. Traded Saquon for DK. W, yeah. Saquon's going down with the ship. DK Metcalf definitely has an elite ceiling. I'm cool with that. Also, pick 2, Tank, Pollard, and Marquise. Yeah, it's Tank and Marquise over Pollard. I do like Marquise Brown a lot, especially with Michael Wilson out. Got a new start sit question for you. Dak or Dobbs? It's Dak. Do you really trust DJ Moore over Devontae Adams? Yeah, I do. I do really trust DJ Moore over Devontae Adams. I think both are good options. I like the game environment for DJ Moore more than I like the game environment for Devontae Adams. Walter agrees with me here with DJ Moore over Adams. Yeah, the matchup's better for DJ Moore. The per game numbers are better for DJ Moore. And this even includes games with Tyson Bagent. And Fields is back, guys. And again, we look at the games where DJ Moore played with Justin Fields. And like if we could just erase from our memory all these games with Tyson Bagent, I think all of us would be confidently starting DJ Moore. He had 5 touchdown stretch there where he didn't really go under 13 points in 4 of his 5 games with Justin Fields. Like the floor is over 13. And the ceiling is like 50 points. There's no ceiling for DJ Moore. You could argue similar stuff for Devontae Adams, but I don't think Aiden O'Connell is going to unlock as much upside as Justin Fields. So yeah, I'm going DJ Moore over Devontae Adams. I have them both ranked pretty high, though. I'll pull my wide receiver tiers here again on the TikTok live. I'll pull my wide receiver rankings again on the YouTube live. All right, Debo or Devontae Smith? Yeah, I got them in the same tier. I got Debo just a couple spots ahead of Devontae Smith. I do like the matchup better for Debo than Devontae Smith. Pacheco, Barkley, Herbert, or Hunt. Pick 2. Yeah, this one's Barkley, and then it's a pretty big toss-up. I think I'd probably go Herbert over Pacheco. I would not start Hunt. It's between Pacheco and Herbert, and I don't want to start Pacheco against the Eagles. I think I'd go Herbert against the Lions instead. Cooper or Pickens? It's Amari over Pickens. You can't start Pickens. You cannot start Pickens against the Browns. You got to go Cooper against the Steelers. Yo, pick 1 tight end to start in a flex. Kittle, Kincaid, Madison, Sutton, and Henderson. Yeah, so I'm going Kincaid over Kittle. And then I think I'd start Sutton over Henderson and Madison and over Kittle. Start 3, Gibbs, Achane, Barkley. Yeah, definitely bench Barkley there for Achane and Gibbs and White. Let me go with the running back tiers here again, because you got to bench Saquon where you can. I'm playing Rachaad White over Saquon, Aaron Jones over Saquon, Javonte over Saquon, Monty over Saquon, Josh Jacobs over Saquon. All those, I think, make a lot of sense. Hawk or Schultz? Yeah, you got to go Hawk over Schultz. I'll put the tight end ranks here again. Stroud or Goff? Yeah, I'm going Stroud over Goff pretty easily. I'll go with the QB ranks on the YouTube live. All right, guys, we are getting to the point of the stream where we go live only on TikTok. If you're watching live on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Shout out to everybody in the YouTube live. If I didn't get to your start sit, you know where to go. Go to the Walter Picks app. It's in the YouTube description. It helps you with all your start sits, all your trade advice, all your fantasy and betting advice that you could possibly need is in the Walter Picks app. Best way to support me is checking that out. It also, if I didn't get to your start sit and you want it answered on this live stream, come to the TikTok live over on TikTok at Walter Picks. We'll be live there for the next hour or so. So the live stream is not ending entirely, but it is going to end on the YouTube live. I don't love Thielen over 6 receptions. No, I don't like Thielen as much as I have so far this season. I'm scared about his floor, honestly, a little bit in this game. I would play, I think I would go Jacoby Myers over Gabe Davis. See you on Turkey Day. Yeah, see you guys on Turkey Day if you're watching live on YouTube and not going to come to the TikTok live. Guys, time is the most valuable thing we have. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I'll be back live Thursday, Sunday for Thanksgiving, and also live for the next hour over on TikTok at Walter Picks. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good luck today, everybody. All right.